Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Have you seen them? Am I lying?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good
Thank
job.
you.
Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Everyone was asking me what channel is SpiceFM.
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have
What
you.
a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you, and it's very...
3, 2.
Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Heri Latifa, Kitmuga, Madam Du, nimesalamia wote sana.
Tumepokea salamu, asante sana.
Hapa Garissa today the weather is very good, only that baridi inatupeleka mbio sana.
Sasa baridi ni degree ngapi hapa?
Hata sijui lakini madam tunakauka sana.
If you want to follow the money trail, you've got to think like a thief to be able to catch that thief.
A slap from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy. You remember the kiss of Judas Iscariot? Iscariot.
Yes.
Is the one that imetuweka kwa hii mashida yote na mataabu kwa sababu of that kiss. Yet the slap of Jesus Christ when he slapped those guys wenye walikuwa wanauza mboga ndani ya kanisa took them to heaven.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
No, you know this wheelbarrow. How can you give people wheelbarrow? His party symbol is an umbrella. Is he distributing umbrellas in Makueni?
Have you been told if we don't lock between 10 to 4, this is what we're saving?
You try and call them, the same person who was in your house every day, because they know you are influential and you will give them votes. Call them after 1 month and see if they'll pick up their phone.
Don't tell your member of parliament that you want him to come and build a school, you want him to come and do a hospital. That is not the work of the member. Now that we have devolution in this country, these resources should go to those devolved units.
You have to have strong, independent institutions. And I mean, you have to have police who has the right to take the biggest town in the country and question, why did you do this and that, and send them to court if necessary.
Joel in Kericho, good morning.
Salama sana, Eric. Habari ya asubuhi.
Salama kabisa. Mbunge wako ni nani?
Anaitwa Silvanus Maritim, hapa ni Ainamoi.
Silvanus Maritim, Ainamoi.
Yes. Sasa ile juma nampambia yeye nini? Amalize aende.
Oh wow.
Asante sana.
That's it.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves, return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislators are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi la Wokovu is Jeshi la Wokovu?
I can't say it very well. Well, Jeshi la Wokovu.
And everyone knows. Okay.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
97.9 Spice FM, Mombasa. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is...
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. This is a Situation Room, live on location. We are in Kilifi. Good morning, guys. City, pick your mic. That one.
Hello.
Say good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Yani, si zile mic unasema testing 1 2 3. Hakuna hiyo?
No.
Niendelee tu na good morning.
Yes.
Good morning. How are you all fit? Yes.
Tuko Coast bana. Ndu.
Hello, good morning. I am fine, thank you. Look at the sun.
Beautiful sunrise.
Unbelievable.
Beautiful sunrise. We are at the Kilifi Creek at the Mnarani Club, and we are watching the sun as it rises. We're here since early morning, with early sun rays, and then we saw the sun coming up. Beautiful. And it's coming up so fast.
It began as a delightful orange orb. Now it's beginning to acquire a little more glare to it. Huh? Yeah. One could argue the sun is beginning to get teeth. Yes.
It's actually doing that. Yeah?
Yes.
Beautiful place. Beautiful place. We're at the Mnarani Club in Kilifi County. We'll be here today and tomorrow. We'll be bringing you conversations from Kilifi County, talking about things that are happening in this region, the coast region.
Indeed we are. Bwana wajua.
The entire stretch of the coast is Mombasa.
Yeah,
and
so
you grew up in Mombasa.
And you grew up so you grew up everywhere.
Actually, what is interesting, not very far from where we are, just down the road on your way to Mombasa, there's a place called Takaungu. Now, most people don't even know that in terms of age of, based on habitation and the people who actually brought what we now refer to as modern civilization, Takaungu was ahead of Kilifi. Yes. Takaungu followed very closely behind Mombasa and Zanzibar. Yes, but of course, the problem with many of these old settlements, they also had a history of slavery.
There is.
Yes.
There is.
So,
what is older between Takaungu and Gedi?
Gedi is much older.
Yeah?
Yes.
Gedi down in Watamu.
Yes, Gedi is much older.
Okay.
Yes. In fact, the family that was known to have inhabited the area of Takaungu were the Mazrui family for the longest time. And if you remember your history, the Omani Arabs, the Mazrui clan, it's an interesting history. Yes. So when one is here, that history sort of like comes to life.
It does, doesn't it?
It just does, yes.
Feel it.
Yes, you do.
You do the feeling.
You feel something, that's for sure.
You do the feeling. Everybody, welcome to the Situation Room. So we'll be here for the entire show today. We'll also be here for the entire show tomorrow morning. Make sure that you say hello to us. We'll be watching what you're saying on our social media platforms. We're live streaming the show, aren't we? Ednah? Yes, I'm sure we are. On SpiceFM KE on Facebook and YouTube as well. We'll be live on KTN Home as well at 7 and 8 a.m. Hiya. Shortly, we take a look at the newspapers. Are you seeing who's online?
I'm not seeing who's online.
Why not?
Because everything is just... I'm waiting. There's a lady
You're
called...
waiting to see who's online?
No, there's a lady called Sylvia who's going to help me connect to the thing. You know the thing. But anyway, I can say hi to you just now. Yes. A number of us online this morning. Karibuni sana and welcome. So we see you. Good morning, Newton. We see you online this morning. Karibu sana and welcome to the Situation Room, as well as Abdikadir is online as well. Karibu sana. Thank you very, very much. Also saying hi to Archie. Archie, good morning. Looking bright indeed. Tuning from Vihiga County. That's where Deej is. Good morning to you all. Looking good already. Pauline Shiro, good morning. And Peter is represented as well. Msafi says good morning. From Nyamira County, tuned in. Bewa Macha is tuned in as well. And Collins Kiptai Kipsat says good morning. Mbuchi Kiamtugu says good morning as well. And Peter Gashosho. We see all you guys online this morning. Karibuni Sana.
Everybody. Moses Omingo is on the YouTube stream. And he also says good morning. Watching from Bukavu. Bukavu is where?
Bukavu is in DR Congo.
Yes, it is. He's right there. Okay, so shortly, let's take a look at the newspaper headlines because we know what happens in the newspaper headlines. If you are anywhere across the country, because we are all over the country, we have some powerful 4G via Airtel Kenya. Airtel gives you some good internet connectivity across the country on a very powerful 4G. Shortly, we'll also be telling you how you can win 2,000 bob worth of free airtime courtesy of Airtel Money. And we'll tell you how. Yeah?
Okay. On the front page of the Standard this morning, millionaire hustlers. The vetting of cabinet secretary nominees started off to surprising revelation after their wealth generated from various income streams. From Musalia's 4 billion shillings to Wahome's 218 million. They said we earned from years of hard work. And if you're looking at those numbers there next to their pictures, Musalia Mudavadi said to be worth 4 billion shillings. Well, he said he's worth 4 billion shillings.
4?
Yes.
4?
851 million is what Aidan Dwale says he is worth. 700 million, Justin Muturi. 420 million, Alfred Mutua. 218 million, Alice Wahome. So those are the numbers that were popping out of us, out of Parliament yesterday. And
so the Prime Cabinet Secretary is worth 4 billion shillings, which is more than 4 times more than the Attorney General. Okay. But why is Musali only worth 4 billion?
After all this time, just 4 billion. Is that what's doing you? Okay. So what the article is talking about is shocking opulence in the Hustler Cabinet nominees revealed as vetting starts. Shall I read that story for you?
Yes.
All right.
I could tell you the Nation headline.
Okay, please.
Yeah. What happened to it?
See, it's right where you left it.
I had it. I had the Nation headline.
Apo.
It's talking about the same thing, about what they are still calling shocking opulence. Anyway, read the story.
Okay, let me give you that story. Committee questions the constitutionality of Prime Cabinet Secretary post as Mudavadi defends his role. And Mutua also promises to address the plight of domestic workers in the Gulf countries, which was clearly, we heard, as a big thing, even as we had that diaspora conversation yesterday. And he seeks to probe into those cases. The National Assembly yesterday vetting the cabinet secretary nominees, where it emerged that the hustler millionaires have wealth ranging between 218 and 4 billion shillings. ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi, the prime cabinet secretary nominee, was the first to appear before the committee on appointments at 9 a.m. He told the committee he's worth 4 billion shillings, and this is where he says he gets it from. If I take my investments to shares in some companies and also the property that I own, I put my net worth about 4 billion shillings. The ANC leader was also asked about current and anticipated sources of income, rental income, dividends where I have shareholdings, and also interest and, of course, other expenses that come from the farm. So he's got a farm. He outlined his new role, saying his office was created in accordance with the executive prerogative of the president to create public offices. He was responding to Minority Leader Opiyo Wandayi, who questioned the constitutionality of the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Wandayi revealed that there was an agreement between Kenya Kwanza and Mudavadi to have Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah introduce a legislation in Parliament to provide greater legal clarity on the position 30 days after the election. He claimed the agreement was in Article 21 of the agreement. Okay. The agreement was inside the agreement.
Yes, it was. Yes. That's where it usually is.
Yes, it's usually inside there. So that, he said, is constitutional, it's legal, don't have a problem.
Just pushing for, I mean, I read in the context and the letter of your agreement that the majority was supposed to come to Parliament and introduce. So I want it to be introduced.
Yes. In other words, come and tell us what you said you were going to come and tell us. Not for us to agree that this, this position exists and is legal. Voila.
Filthy rich hustlers.
Jeez.
That's a Daily Nation headline. The first batch of 5 President William Ruto's cabinet secretary nominees have a combined net worth of over 6 billion shillings, a significant amount of wealth for the people that will man a government. The head of the state had in the campaign said would be pro-poor, but even as they declared the sources of their opulence, they mounted a spirited fight to clear their names as their past records in the public service came back to haunt them. So we know who they were. I mean, it was Ednah, Justin Muturi, Dr. Alpha Mutua, and Alice Ohome. Headline in the Business Daily: High Court freezes equity acquisition of Spire Bank. The High Court has frozen Equity Bank's acquisition of Spire Bank amid a dispute over the fate of employees in the troubled lender. Employment and Labor Relations Court Judge Maureen Onyango ruled that the lenders should maintain the status quo until a deal is agreed with the employees. And they also have a headline from what was happening in the courts yesterday. I know it's in court in Parliament yesterday. Mudavadi reveals Absa and First Assurance stake in his 4 billion shilling wealth. Haya, Taifa Leo headline.
Okay.
Mahasla billionaire. Nasema hivyo bana.
Ile.
Mudavadi afichua ana utajiri wa bilioni 4 huku Muturi akisema aliingiza milioni 1 kila siku mwaka mmoja uliopita.
No. Do you know what that means? Is milioni in Swahili the same as English?
Yes.
Kila siku milioni 1.
There's what you call a singularity of similarity. Yes.
Do you know how much that is?
Yeah? Yes.
365 million.
Yes.
See, that's a small amount.
Oh, sorry.
Basically, what they're looking at is what Justin Muturi said last year. Remember when last year Justin Muturi was launching his bid for the presidency and, moving into DP and all those things and saying, I want to be president. How much was he worth then? He said he's worth around 300 and something billion.
Now he says he's worth
700.
So minus.
That means
you get 3.
Made this money. Quite an astute businessman, wouldn't you say? Million, sorry.
Not billion. 700 million now, half of that last year.
This arithmetic reminds me of the time when there was some cleansing in the police service, and we had all manner of police officers who had, they laid claim that they had millions and millions of shillings. Some sold vegetables, some sold eggs, charcoal and chicken, and then the arithmetic added up to millions. Okay, and when you did the maths, it's millions every day. So you wonder, how many eggs did you sell in a day?
No, but that's not the more. Why are we suffering? Because if people can make it like this in life with, this menial kind of...
But you don't have to ask this question.
It's not just in one place you're selling the eggs or chicken.
These questions that these nominees were being asked, what is the purpose?
What's the purpose of asking the question?
Yes, why are they being asked about their wealth? Yes, why? What? Is that part of the supposed wealth declaration?
Well, it's for, like they say, it's for public accountability. Of course, the wealth declaration forms are signed, and we know that they are kept
wherever they're kept,
some level of secrecy. But I was about to ask the same thing. I mean, what was the point of all those questions that were being asked yesterday? It's just ticking the boxes.
Yeah, because does it matter?
No, but does it make sense if you can't verify what they are telling you?
Someone tells you I'm worth $1 billion.
Million. So then, I mean, okay,
or says I'm worth 10,000 shillings.
Shillings. Yeah, then what?
Because if we're talking about the responsibility of getting your job done, which is essentially what this vetting process is supposed to be, are you worth your salt? Number one. Number two, are you going to actually be able to get the job done? What does then your wealth or lack of it have to do with that?
It shows the kind of person that you are.
Now that's yes.
Once you say you are worth 4 billion shillings, then you're asked,
how did you acquire? Then, so now all of this, if I did a business, that means that you have management skills, administration skills, operation skills, etc., etc. It shows that you're able to do this. You could be lying.
Put it this way: you could be You could be economical with the truth,
exactly.
But then the question that I wonder is this: does how much you earn and your business acumen and your ability to make money signify that you'd make a good public servant?
Well, not necessarily.
I think my mic was off.
Okay.
These guys are not switched on my mic.
So all the time, what?
I don't know. Can we start again? Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. This is a situation room.
Wait, so all this time you've been rapping?
I think so. My main man Boniface placed the mic in front of me here, and you did the testing. I found you doing 1 2 1 2. Happy birthday.
It worked. It worked.
It's on now, Benny.
This is
That's
what
fine.
happens
That's
when you
fine.
keep fiddling with the microphone. The thing was working perfectly fine before you touched it.
And then you placed it down there and you switched it off.
Okay,
Anyway,
boys.
let's continue. So, the thing is, if you now look at for example, what's in the public domain, the discussion about Justin Muturi's supposed wealth declaration, it's important that someone comes and says themselves, I'm worth 300 billion shillings. So in a year, if you come and say I'm worth 700 million shillings, rather, not billion, but millions, if you come and say I'm worth 700 million shillings, then the questions are asked, hey, boss.
How?
Exactly how much are you worth? Because if you're not even sure how much you are worth, how much you own, then you ask yourself the very many questions that will come then. What's happening?
Look, I can understand, because if you look at, if we just take it to like what happens in another, like the United States.
In other jurisdictions.
Yeah.
A senator, even a ward representative, a council member, they go into the very detail of their life. Have you been married? How many wives, husbands have you had? How many children do you have? Have they gone through? Have you ever been arrested? Do you ever smoke cannabis in high school? They go right into the very detail. Why do they do that? Not necessarily because they're trying to be
facetious.
Or even trying to poke nose into your business. Well, many would argue that they could, but they're trying to find out the character of who you are. Because if they find out who you are, then they will have an idea as to how you would hold your office. How would you operate? If in your personal life, this is how you operate, the likelihood of that transferring to this public position then is very high. So I can understand why they do it. Yesterday, it just didn't seem as though they were asking those questions in order to be able to get this particular answer. It did seem as if it was a check-the-box exercise. All right, how much did you earn? Yeah, poof, poof. How did you earn it? Okay, next. You know, this position, is it legal? You said you were going to, okay, bring it so we can argue it, you know? So that is what it actually did look like.
But we in the media, did we report everything that was asked? I mean, look, it was live.
It was live, yes.
Yesterday. It was live, yes.
Yes. But then, when it now came to being reported in print, did we cover everything?
No, you can't cover everything.
Can't.
You cover what?
The newspaper will be 1,000 pages long.
Tell the story as it was being told verbatim.
Yeah.
Okay.
The various issues that come out. That goes with editorial decisions. I mean, is this a newsworthy item or is it not? Is it one that we cover? So you may find that what the Standard has picked is not necessarily what the Star, the Nation, the People Daily have picked. For example, the Standard has picked the story of Ednah Duale when he was being questioned as the nominee. We check City's mic. City's mic is on, Buana. What's up? Okay.
Kiss the mic, City.
Yeah. So Ednah Duale was being questioned about what he thinks about the military being deployed to civilian operations, and he said it was wrong for the Kenya Defence Forces to be involved in civilian jobs like the Kenya Meat Commission and the Nairobi Metropolitan Services in the Jubilee regime. Duale, the Garissa Township MP, said KDF has 3 functions as established in the Constitution. He added that the military will not be involved in civilian jobs under President William Ruto and his tenure at the Defense Ministry. Putting KDF officers in charge of the NMS and KMC was a mistake. You don't want to wake up one day and remove a general to come and serve. If they are not careful, we'll have a general as a clerk of the National Assembly.
I do have a question. Does he retain his seat as the Garissa Town MP?
Nope.
That's going to go to by-election, isn't it?
Yep.
All right.
By-elections coming up there, by-election coming up in Alice Wahome's constituency as well.
Also looking at it happening in EMC. So that will come up in a short while and see who then.
happening in Mudavadi's constituency?
No, he's not a member.
Elected as anything. Would you like him to be? It's a bit late in the game, don't you think?
Neither is the one-time Siakago MP in Parliament now. Okay, so you see, you're asking whether we have covered everything, and you were going to say why.
The question I was asking,
Yes.
the specific reference was this. If we focus on the wealth, because the wealth declaration issues seem to have been the focus, I'm wondering whether we actually miss out on competency issues that relate to the track record that these individuals have had in public life. Anything that they have done that would be outstanding. If they have issues, nefarious or otherwise, that are also outstanding, whether these came up and these were also raised. Because if it is a question of leadership, see, a minister, a CS, it is a very senior position. You're part of the cabinet.
Yep.
Your wealth aside, there are other issues that ought to be asked that would relate directly to your ability to actually be able to ensure that the office that you are being given serves the interests of the people of Kenya. Yes, your wealth, yes, good, we know, thank you very much, you're rich. Okay, now that we've established that you're rich, what have you done in the past that can tell us, that can be a point as to what
Like there
you
should be
might...
specific questions.
Specific areas,
When
yes.
you are finance minister,
happened. Now, tell us how you got out of it, got into it, maneuvered around it, because right now we're in a bit of a bind financially. Now, you having had the experience, that would tell us you're the sort of person who would be able to offer the advice that a country would need. You just, Muturi, when you're MP, when you're this, when you're the other, okay? I'm simply asking this question because once the issues of one's finances have been probed into, clear, we've got it, you've got money, we've understood it. The other questions may come later, but we know you've got money, okay?
Yeah.
Does that cover the entirety of what we need to know to give us a little comfort in understanding that these individuals are rightly placed to actually serve us well? That's all.
And that's the thing. I think the vetting committee should be looking back into those questions and asking those direct and specific questions.
Yes.
You know, because it's an accountability. This is an accountability platform. It's not that we are not going to approve you, all right? But if you've got questions that you need to answer,
explain to us, so that let us hear it from you.
Yeah.
Yes, Mturi, when you're a magistrate, go into a little history. This story
something
happened. So that we clear this air, explain to us what this thing is, okay? And if that is covered with everybody's life, then we feel, yes, at least we have people who are open and honest. Just that honesty alone gives us confidence that this is somebody you can rely on to represent you well. Yes.
So looking ahead into those who will be vetted today, Cabinet Secretary nominees Moses Kuria, Aisha Jumwa, and others. For example, the Standard has a full-page story of, just previewing Moses Kuria. And it says, 1 month after his election as treasurer of the Students' Organization of the University of Nairobi, Moses Kuria was served with a letter of expulsion by the institution's Senate. It took the intervention of opposition leader Jaramogi to save him. Odinga hired him a lawyer, Gerald Otieno Kajwang, who obtained a court injunction against the decision. Long before, Kuria had been giving offense right from his childhood. The former altar server at Gatondo Catholic Church was expelled from Ituru Secondary School, where he claims to have been bullied and sat his secondary school exam at Thika High School. After graduating with a Bachelor of Commerce degree from the University of Nairobi in 1994, he worked for Family Finance and Building Bank. It was called Family Finance Building Society, before joining Standard Chartered Bank as head of Business Process Engineering for Africa. Standard Chartered, head of Business Process Engineering for Africa. Things took a turn in 1995 when he landed a job as head of process re-engineering in Africa at the Standard Chartered. He fell off the radar before finding a position as chief operating officer at Wamud Info Services in Dubai in 2007, subsequently working at Al Rajhi Bank in Saudi Arabia in a similar role before the political bug bit him once again. He returned to Kenya in 2007 and joined politics.
No, you see that? You see, right that?
Yeah.
Now that gives you an idea of the sort of person Moses Kuria is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So beyond what we see out in public domain, his competent
Yes. No, forget the competitive nature. He's actually a fairly competent person. If you were to look at his history. Were the previous candidates accorded a similar platform? I think you've actually got to the heart of the matter clearly. Yes.
So let's see. In fact, this is just the Standard, just highlighting who Moses Kuria is. Let us see whether the panel will ask him questions about, for example, as a student leader, you were expelled. What was that all about? There's this, you're running with the law.
Yes, and the allegations of hate speech and what have you.
And all
explain that. Those are the things you'd like someone to actually come and talk about. Yes, because if you ask me, it's those details about their life and the activities they've been involved in that give you a glimpse into the person.
Yep. And also you're talking about, so you're the trade CS nominee.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Now, what is it? Things need to come out to show whether he has the competency for CS nominee for trade and industry.
Yes.
What is it? You're history, working for Family Bank, working for Family Bank, yes, working for Standard Chartered, going into the Middle East and working in the Arab countries in the financial services sector. What exactly did you do? How do you promote trade? What's your understanding of trade relations, trade laws, the barriers on tariff and all? What is your understanding and what's your idea?
Actually, when you think about it, every nominee taken through just the Q&As of what that job entails?
And as we ask these questions, look, this is why at the end of the day, when we spoke a couple of weeks ago and we said, look, positions is going to get vetted and it's going to be cleared. Why were we able to make as it ought to be? That questions will be asked and it doesn't matter what the answer is, it's going to be checked and they're going to be cleared. Should a process be carried out properly and the kind of work that they have done in the past that will then allow them to fulfill their duties in this current position, and you find that there's a grey area somewhere, or you find that there's a question mark, you won't clear them. You wouldn't. If you were really serious about this individual taking up a position that affected the future of the country. If you saw that there was a problem or that there was a lack somewhere, you would not clear them. But it seems as though these questions were being asked so that we can get through the process. So that come Friday, we would have done the job that we needed to do, and we can say, okay, over to you, Mr. President, please go ahead and appoint.
But of interest, you must bear in mind, I mean, this one is just not sheer conjecture. Consider some of the issues that some of these nominees had, issues with the courts. Now, those issues have since fizzled out, okay? Now, I am not...
The fizzleization?
Yes, they're fizzled out because if the person who is charged with the duty of ensuring that such matters reach a conclusion withdraws those cases, then it's done, finished. That case no longer exists. So you can't even raise it, okay? Well, I guess you could, but it becomes a non-issue.
I have a story about that one.
I want to hear the story. I'm tired of listening to my voice. Yes.
Tell you the story about one of these cases where, again, the DPP has decided that he needs some time and he needs money to be able to probe a particular case.
All right.
Okay?
Yes.
DPP Nordin Haji has now asked for time to review the 7.5 billion DP Gachagua case. After the prosecution requested more time to review the case, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua may be let off the hook in a 7.5 billion shilling corruption case through State Prosecutor Vera Hamisi. Director of Public Prosecutions Nordin Haji informed the court that he had received requests from the accused and would need 3 weeks to review the evidence before deciding whether to terminate the case.
That case will be terminated. We don't even need to go further.
You see the prediction that I'm talking about?
Yeah, it will be terminated.
The prediction that we're talking about, whether it's at the judicial system or whether it's on the floor of the
It will
house.
be terminated.
There you go. Anti-Corruption Court Chief Magistrate Victor Wakumile allowed the request by the DPP. He directed that should the prosecutors make a decision to terminate the case, they can move the court any time before the next hearing date scheduled for November 21st. If the DPP dismisses the charges against Gachagua, he will join the ranks of other politicians and former state officials whose cases have been dismissed in the last 2 weeks. Cabinet Secretary nominee Aisha Jumwa and Mithika Linturi, as well as former Kenya Power Managing Directors Ben Chumo and Ken Tarus, are among those who have benefited from the DPP's recent moves to drop the charges. It's interesting because there's also a picture of the DPP there with his hand on his head, looking as though he's quite perturbed.
You know, some of these questions that we ask, they're akin to me asking the question, am I in Kilifi? What's the answer?
Yes.
Is the sun beginning to shine very brightly?
You know?
Yes.
Oh, can I see the water?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, the case will be terminated.
As far as
If
you can
this
see
is
the
the
sunrise,
creek,
Yes, and is this a creek in the back in the background? All right, so
like that, you know.
Yeah. So and about this case,
Exactly. What are the counts, the charges, the counts against the DP? Count 1. The DP is charged with conspiracy to commit a corruption offence, alleging that he defrauded the county government of Nyeri of 27 million shillings between May 2015 and December 2016. Second count, Gachagua is accused of fraudulently obtaining 6 million shillings from Nyeri Provincial General Hospital for the supply of dialysis machines in December 2014. The prosecution charged him with 2 additional counts of money laundering, alleging that the DP received 112 million shillings from Bungoma and Kwale counties, respectively, and engaged in transactions to conceal the money trail. The prosecution also alleged in count 5 that the DP fraudulently obtained 73 billion shillings. No, 7.3 billion. Through his personal accounts at Rafiki Microfinance Bank. All those things. The DP denied all the charges and claimed that they were politically motivated when there was no evidence that he fraudulently acquired public property. According to him, he acquired his wealth through genuine businesses and has never colluded, connived, or illegally dealt with any county government to benefit from the proceeds of crime. Now the DPP is saying, let me review, because I've received some applications from some of these people. Please allow me to review this file.
You know, even if one doesn't impute any nefarious intentions, okay, the cases as they stand, you know, they're really very difficult to prove.
Because?
Evidence.
There was evidence yesterday and then the evidence...
I think you've understood where I'm going with this. At what point is there evidence and at what point is the evidence not adequate evidence? You see...
This is the argument that we continue to have.
We must.
Is that the DPP in his position,
actually,
in the country, it is assumed that it will be trusted that by the time the DPP is bringing a case to court in terms of evidentiary demand, it is of merit.
You know, the issue, I agree with you completely. The issue I'm raising here is when you look at, this is a judicial process, really. I call it a legal process. Whether it is by the DPP, by the DCI, by the High Court, by the Court of Appeal, by the Supreme Court, they are charged with those duties and they have the powers to determine the forward movement and the backward movement and the sideways movement.
True.
If they say that is it, you know, we really don't have much recourse, really, because...
No, you can, but I think one of the things that we are saying is that if you're not sure, don't bring it in the first place.
Is the DPP not allowed to change his mind?
No. The DPP is not allowed to change his mind, City.
In the face of facts that allow him to do so, can he not change his mind?
Now, that is something different. You see, the DPP is allowed to look at the evidence that he has. The DPP is allowed to look at the circumstances of the case that he's prosecuting.
Yes.
Okay? So, for instance, if all your witnesses, say, die, and you have no witnesses to present before court, you can do like what Bensouda did in The Hague. Go and say, you know what?
This thing is not working.
I have no
This one is not working.
My honors, my lord.
These people just keep dying. I don't know why, but they just keep dying.
Yes. Now those are. But the DPP does not. You know, the simplicity of that question would be: is the DPP allowed to change his mind? He cannot just wake up early.
Today, I don't think there's enough.
I don't think we can charge this guy.
You know, my train of thought goes to the Supreme Court, really, because when the Supreme Court says it doesn't meet the threshold, what are you going to say? Huh? You are going to say it doesn't meet the threshold. That's their job, is to make that determination. I may think otherwise. I may feel otherwise. Doesn't matter.
That's true.
That's really it.
That's true.
Yes.
Let me move you over closer to the coast. The Kenya Ports Authority denies reports of congestion at port as more ships are set to dock. The Kenya Ports Authority Principal Communications Manager Haj Masemo says on average there are 21,899 containers at the port's yard daily against a capacity of 47,000. So they're only doing 50% of capacity.
And yet they're not congested.
They're not. They have a capacity for 47,000. They're only doing 21,000.
So they say.
There's so much space. 36 ships are scheduled to dock at the port in the next 14 days. The port has seen business boom in recent weeks, which has been attributed to a smooth political transition and global economic recovery. Yesterday, KPA said it could handle the expected surge in business. The authority's 14-day list of vessels scheduled to dock indicated no container ship was waiting for space to berth. Of the 38 ships to dock, 16 will bring containerized cargo. Reports that the port is experiencing congestion are erroneous. More cargo is coming in, but I can assure you we can handle it. In terms of capacity, we're about 57%. Shippers Council of Eastern Africa said yesterday the volume of cargo at the port would increase in the coming days following the peaceful political transition. I don't know who had said the port is congested.
It's the usual politics. Someone comes up with something and someone decides we need to correct this. But the truth is, remember, the capacity of the port has been increased over time. It's one of the things that the Uhuru Ruto government did very well. They expanded the port functions and operations by increasing the berths. And remember, we now have Lamu.
Transshipment port.
Yes, which is argued to be much, much better for some of the really massive, huge vessels. So it's not as though... And remember, it's also run by Kenya Port Authority, just so that you understand.
Yep. Same. So, the CEO of the Shippers Council of Eastern Africa, Gilbert Langat, is warning importers against using the port as a storage facility, saying this could disrupt the logistics chain, create congestion, and trigger extra charges. If importers start to use the port as a storage facility, then we'll have returned to the era of congestion. We are assessing the situation. He's basically advising them, listen, let's not use this thing as a cargo arrives, let cargo stay here, accruing demurrage and all. Just let's move the cargo.
Yeah, but then, okay. Against what background is this talking? I thought the reason why CFSs were actually set in place was to avoid this very situation that he's talking about.
True. Some shippers may avoid CFSs.
Yes.
And keep the cargo within the port for a long while.
But does that not then mean that the port is in a position to actually earn more revenue? Because it's not sitting there for free, is it?
No,
but then
you're going to pay the fees.
This 57% capacity will soon be 105%.
So he is foreseeing the future, and he's saying, let's not get to that future.
Let's not get to that point.
Get to that point, exactly.
Let's make sure as cargo is cleared, cargo moves. Cargo cleared, cargo moves.
Why would somebody who's an importer want their cargo to actually sit at the port? Why wouldn't? Because you bring cargo so that it can go somewhere else. So what would make what would bring about this situation? I'm wondering. Question?
Other people.
Huh?
They're not the sole decision makers in this process.
There are other people with whom they share the decision making process.
Sure, but one would think that you want a quick turnaround time, so you come, you drop off your stuff, you go back and you continue. But you're not the only one in this cog. Everybody is making decisions, and those who are making the decisions that would slow you down are benefiting. Because the longer your stuff stays there, if obviously there are charges that are being paid and somebody's benefiting from those charges.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's holiday for Uhuru after 20 years in murky world of politics. That's a story also that's in the Standard today. And it's looking at the stuff that he's been up to. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta is settling rather to his new life as a civilian in his 1,000-acre farm in Olulmongi, Transmara in Narok County. After serving 2 terms, he settled into the big farm overlooking the Mara Triangle, which is the southwestern part of the Masai Mara National Reserve. The Mara Triangle is managed by the non-for-profit organization, the Mara Conservancy, on behalf of the county government of Narok. While hyping the move by Uhuru to settle in his county, Narok Senator Ledama Olekina said Narok is a great place to live and to do business, and the former head of state is welcome. We are happy that he chose our county, and it shows that Narok is a great place. I am now Uhuru's senator, he said. The scenic triangle occupies a third of the entire Masai Mara National Reserve that is less visited but boasts of a variety of wildlife all year round. This means Uhuru enjoys a prime viewing location of the herds of the Great Migration entering and exiting the Masai Mara over months. Also looking at...
He has a plot. How big?
A plot 1,000 acres, too heavy.
Okay.
Not bad, no? Not bad for a retired president.
It could have been 10, so... One is, just...
Yeah, we also saw that...
As long as it's not fraudulently acquired.
Then it's all right. We also saw that he was in the company of one Muhammadu Buhari yesterday in Abuja at the Aso Rock Villa, having conversations about transition and setting up of structures around the continent, and he did.
Gone to advise Muhammadu Buhari about
consultancy. Consultancy, Baba.
These are the jobs you do in retirement.
These are the things that Kenya has pioneered, smooth transitions.
So one of the things is, please do not support anyone.
Number one.
Lessons from there's a book called Lessons from the Past.
Yes, I'm writing it, and I'm giving you a peek preview.
So I'm telling you, in the run up to 2023, my dear Buhari, please,
just
don't call anybody's name. Just remain your remaining days at the villa, and
yes, and by the way, Buhari, do you have the equivalent of Narok here in Nigeria? I have found it very useful.
Yeah, he can go to the Yankari game reserve.
Yes, and you get a plot.
Get a plot.
Yes,
enjoy your life.
1,000 acres, not more.
You'll be all right.
The other 9 leave for other people. Yes.
What? Because Ednah says we need to take a break. Okay. There's a commercial break, right? So let's take this quick break. I know it's right there in the middle of the place where we shouldn't be taking a break, but let's just do that break. Kenya's biggest conversation. This is the Situation Room. Ati, the room. What about the room?
So, you're looking for somebody for this company of yours, you guys. I mean,
well, no,
you need to hire people.
Restructure that sentence again. Start. 1, 2, 3.
The two of you need your techie for your new company.
Okay.
Isn't it? The other adjunct, whatever that it is, that you do, which I think also you need to be vetted, but that's a story for another day. So, what the room has done is that you don't have to look through a list of 1,000 people. All you need to do is get into the room. They've educated people through the system. It's called AL. It's called the African Leadership Group, and so they've trained people. So you don't need to go through and vet this person. No, you can be sure that the candidates that they put up for you, all you need to do is select. And they walk you through the process. You pick somebody. You could have somebody working by Monday. You could have somebody working by Monday. Get into the room. You are sure that they've trained these people. They've gotten them to meet the mark. Theroom.com.
The room we believe in. These other people, we have to talk to them first. Room we believe. There's no question about it. But these people, whom they will appoint, man, we have to talk to them. The experience we've had with the people whom we haven't vetted.
But that is why I'm telling you, the room has vetted on your behalf, so you don't need to worry about it. Now, that experience that you've had, bad experience, the room is sorting you out.
Okay.
Got it?
The room is on fire. This is a Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation, live from location. We are at the Kilifi Creek. This is beautiful sunrise.
Man.
You could get used to this.
We're at the Mnarani Club in Kilifi. Let's take this quick break. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
Everyone remembers the ambition they first had when they started their business.
A business holds promise. An idea could blow up and change lives anywhere on the planet. But the best idea is not worth much if it can't be executed by a solid team. Introducing The Room, the talent solution that provides a global network of tech talent, relationships, and resources dedicated to drive growth and innovation in your business. Hire tech talent and pick from qualified software engineers, cloud developers, web developers, and data analysts, all vetted and trained to Silicon Valley standards. The way we work has changed, and subsequently, so should the way we hire. Visit theroom.com today and discover how we can improve your business.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
And we're back. This is the Situation Room. We're enjoying the creek.
You're in the creek.
We're enjoying the creek. Looking at the newspaper headlines and stories that are there. There's one interesting story. Today is Tuesday. It's a day for the financial standard. Let me start with the headline and then I go into the story. Taxpayers to lose billions in hushed Telecom deal. In a market transaction carried out at the tail end of retired President Uhuru's reign, the Treasury forked out 6 billion shillings for a 60% stake in the liability-ridden telco from British firm Helios. Have you got what I'm saying? Let me tell you. Taxpayers could lose billions of shillings in the nationalization of Kenya's third largest mobile service provider, Telecom Kenya. The National Treasury is yet to release the details of the abrupt decision reportedly made in the last days of Uhuru Kenyatta's administration, where the government reportedly paid 6 billion shillings to British investment firm Helios Partners for its 60% stake in Telecom Kenya. Details of the deal are yet to be made public, with calls by Financial Standard to Telecom Kenya's executives as well as the former and current government officials in the ICT ministry going unanswered. An analysis by Financial Standard, however, indicates that the nationalization of Telecom Kenya exposes Kenyan taxpayers to billions of shillings in liabilities and creates uncertainty around the giant parastatal's vast assets, much of it in prime commercial land in key towns across the country. Summary. Telecom Kenya. Okay? Telecom Kenya, was had various investors. The government has a stake in it, 40% stake. 60% was sold to this investment firm, Helios Partners.
Of the UK?
Of the UK. After some time, Helios Partners has decided to offload its stake. And
Why?
the government decides to buy back that stake from Helios Partners.
Why are they offloading the stake?
Well, they make their own financial decision.
It is a financial decision.
They'll tell us
Okay.
what the financial decision is if they choose to. Okay? The question is the valuation of this deal. The question is, has Helios Partners sold back to Telecom Kenya what they took from
In
the
the first
previous
place. Yeah.
from the previous investors
Yeah.
who were Orange Telecom, right, of France? Or are there some assets of Telecom Kenya that are not in this deal to buy back? And what happened to those assets? Remember, Telecom Kenya owns vast prime assets.
Countrywide.
Don't they just?
Yeah, countrywide. You can imagine the sole telecommunications operation in the country before anything went mobile, before anything went digital. You had the monopoly. You had all the infrastructure, you had all the assets for telecommunications countrywide, and then touching on regional as well. Let's be honest.
Yep.
Where did it go?
Talking of telcos, there's this conversation that's ongoing. Safaricom says this, Safaricom wants to form a group. They're not going to split their business. They're not going to put M-Pesa on the one side and the other business on the other. And this against a backdrop of discussions about what Airtel has done. Airtel has split their business. The money business is on one side, and hii ingine ya kuongea like we're ongearing is on the other one. What it tells me, though, as I read this article, because the Safaricom CEO is being quoted as saying very many things on this particular matter. He says, these issues that people keep discussing about regulation from the central bank, M-Pesa is already regulated. That's what he's saying. Okay? Now, these discussions, I'm certain when we look at the foray into Ethiopia and others, the telco world is going to have a lot of business to talk about in the coming future.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Yes.
Remember, we're giving away free airtime, 2,000 shillings worth of airtime, courtesy of Airtel Money. And there's a question we're asking on social media. We'll just go onto our social media. You'll find that question, the question that we are asking this morning. This is a Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation, live from Kilifi County, 8:07 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The appointment committee led by National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula took to task Cabinet Secretary nominees to be appointed by President William Ruto should they be approved by the August House. Musalia Mudavadi, who was first to appear before the panel, said it was worth 4 billion shillings, further revealing that he was no longer the ANC leader as he had resigned after his nomination by President William Ruto.
Have you ever been dismissed from office for any conflict between personal interest and public or official duties?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Have you ever been adversely associated with practices that depict bias, favoritism, or nepotism in the discharge of public duties?
No.
Have you at any time held any position in a political party?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have.
Which is?
I have, the most recent one was being party leader of the Amani National Congress.
Are you still the leader?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Attorney General nominee Justin Muturi, who said is worth 700 million shillings when vetted refusing to give his stand on the move by DPP Nuruddin Haji to drop a litany of cases last week, further saying that he will see to it that the Justice Department within the government works together.
Some of the cases, some of the other smaller cases that government has actually lost has been, in my view, out of negligence, because many of them are either not adequately defended and some not at all defended. Going forward, I think there is need for all government ministries and departments to ensure that they involve the Office of the Attorney General, especially before entering into commercial contracts.
And Defense CS nominee Ednah disregarded claims that he had names of Al-Shabaab financiers.
I was with the whole leadership of Northern Kenya, and what we said was that the communities must come out and must help government and must help the security agencies in identifying among the communities or among their neighborhood or when they come across the border or who are the financials. So we're urging the communities to play their role. But of all the media houses decided to twist that and said Honorable Duale is going to name the financials within 30 days. I have no capacity and I don't have the constitutional mandate to investigate who are financials. That is, I think, the job of the Director General of National Intelligence.
Mutua, who was the fourth to be interviewed to become Foreign Affairs CS, said his role will be to strengthen Kenya's relationship with other countries and even address the concerns of Kenyans living abroad, especially in Saudi Arabia. Ali Sohome, who has been nominated to be Water and Sanitation Cabinet Secretary, said her wealth is 218 million shillings, further promising to ensure that water supply services are strengthened in the country, including in educational institutions.
With that rich history and background, long practice and so on, what is your financial net worth?
Maybe I could say the net. The net is 218 million shillings. The others are debt, yes. My net worth is 218 million. And this is a value of properties between myself and my husband. Some of them.
Those are family assets.
They are family assets.
Mm-hmm.
Today, Kithure Kindiki, who has been nominated as CS Interior, Njuguna Ndung'u Finance, Aisha Jumwa Public Service and Gender Affairs, David Chuchur for Petroleum and Moses Korea for Industry will have the date. With the committee, we will be at the Parliament buildings as we bring you the very latest from that quarters with regards to the interviews that will be taking place now. President William Ruto has appointed Paul Muraya Mwangigare to be the private secretary to his deputy Rigathi Gachagua. In the latest appointment, the head of public service, Felix Koskei, disclosed that the head of state had also appointed Nyeri Rugane as the head of communication services in the office of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. The president also appointed former Administration Police Deputy Commandant George Ngonga Magoe as Gashagua's Chief of Staff. President Ruto retained his private secretary Ruben Mayo. Journalist Emmanuel Talam has also been appointed Press Secretary, Presidential Communication Services. The head of state rebranded the communication team and changed it to PSC from the Presidential Strategic Communication Unit PSU. The rebranding of the department has been a tradition of new administrations. The changes were contained in his first executive order of 2022. President Ruto appointed journalist David Mugonyi as the head of PCS. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
When you're impeached, you're impeached. When you're sentenced, you're sentenced.
Madam Chief Justice.
Until the sentence is set aside.
Ukibeba vitu kwa roho utakufa. If you carry things in your heart, you will die.
You've had the luxury of living for 50 years and you cannot still explain yourself. Surely. Oh my God. The reason for which you went to school and then gathered experience, that reason must be paid for.
All right.
Okay.
This level.
Shape up or ship out.
Levels don't change.
No.
It's about shipping up.
You know my business partner here.
Shipping out.
Are we talking about the ship in the bathtub? Or
the ship man?
Emmanuel Talam used to tell us a story of though in school. and they've been told to write composition about a ship. His classmate raises a hand. Teacher, are you talking about a ship or a ship goat?
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
SpiceFM, Nakuru. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to...
And welcome back. This is The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation, live on location. We are broadcasting from Mnarani Club in Kilifi, right by the Kilifi Creek. And it's a lovely, beautiful morning. We'll be here today and tomorrow broadcasting from here. Shortly, we'll be talking to people who do business and live in Kilifi, and also talking to political leaders from Kilifi County. City, we'll get the proverb. As I tell you about the KMRC. The KMRC is the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company. It was established in 2018. The whole idea behind the KMRC was looking at how to make people get to afford home ownership easily. So KMRC is a corporation that is owned by private and public sector. Public is a government. Private is several banks and several SACCOs.
So is it a PPP?
It is sort of.
Sort of a PPP.
A PPP. Okay. So the owners of the KMRC, these are the commercial banks, and the SACCOs are the ones that you go to. And if you want to borrow a home loan, to take a home loan, you go to your bank or you go to your SACCO. In Nairobi, for example, the entire Nairobi metropolitan region, they say if you earn 150,000 shillings and below, and you identify a house that's worth up to 6 million shillings, go to your bank. Tell them, nipatie ile deal ya KMRC. Then the bank will give you a home loan for a maximum tenure of 25 years at a single-digit interest rate. That is, currently they're doing between 8 to 9 point something %.
It is below 10.
10%. And the interest rate that you start with will not change despite the market fluctuations. So it will never go above that figure. It will never go below that figure as well for the entire 25-year tenure. The beauty of this is you think about owning a home, you are paying rent. Instead of just paying rent, pay rent to own your house.
Meaning, as you're paying the rent, you're actually owning...
You're actually paying towards home ownership.
But is that not a wonderful thing?
Beautiful thing. This kind of thing used to happen before.
It did. It did. Once upon a time, it did, yes.
Oh, no. How was that working?
Well, you see, one of the things that happened when we had something called the local authorities, the government itself would be the indemnifier.
Yeah.
Meaning, the government would come up with a home ownership scheme. So even as you're working for them, you were able, through your job, through your pay, with indemnification from the government, you were able to actually start purchasing even the very unit that you're staying in. But in those days, there is a state corporation called the National Housing that actually worked. It put up buildings. In fact, many of the buildings you find in some of the big towns and some of the what we refer to as the estates, they put them up. And some of them were rented, some of them people actually were allowed to buy. Yes. In fact, some of these structures were put up specifically so that people could actually buy them. Yes. It sounds strange, but it happened.
It did.
It did.
They say, jijenga na KMRC, rent yako, keja yako. Rent yako, keja yako. We'll tell you more and more details about how you can jenga with KMRC. So, the proverb?
The proverb, we are still in the country of Somalia.
Okay.
Okay? If a mule grazes with horses, it thinks it's also a horse.
From mule what?
Mule, donkey, grazes with horses, it thinks it is also a horse. Yes.
Okay.
Confusion.
Yep. Similarity.
It gets confused.
Familiarity.
And because it's grazing with horses, then it thinks, oh, me,
I'm
horse.
one of you.
Me, horse.
Yeah.
Mule, false story. In reality, I'm horse.
I'm horse.
See, I'm eating with the horses. What else could I possibly be?
Just a different main style.
Kabisa.
This is a very sad story from Murang'a County. Police in Murang'a are tracking down a man who burnt a married, heavily pregnant woman with a petrol-loaded stove because she rejected his advances. The incident happened on Saturday evening in an apartment block in Kanorero Trading Center, Kangema Sub-County. Fellow tenant Alvaro Kingori said the suspect had repeatedly made passes at the woman, even when he knew that she lived with another man in the same plot. Mr. Kingori says it's like an obsession. The suspect had been warned repeatedly by the woman's husband. The woman had publicly told him off, but he was unrelenting. It was an incident that started a month ago. Kangema Police Boss Philip Wambogo says the suspect escaped and the woman was admitted to Kangema Level 4 Hospital in a critical condition. The report is that the suspect ambushed the woman as she was coming out of the compound's pit latrine and threw a burning stove on her. She has burns on her abdomen, thighs and hands. Police are also trying to find the woman's relatives, said to live in neighboring Murang'a South Sub-County. Though the woman and her lover lived as a married couple, the man had not visited the relatives of the woman. County Commissioner Karuku Ngumo said the matter is being treated as a serious incident of gender-based violence. He says such cruelty will not go unpunished, especially when we are speaking of a victim who is heavily pregnant. Sad, isn't it?
What I find strange is it that we have normalized these things so that even when we read them, we've become numb? Because this is bizarre.
When you're impeached, you're impeached. When you're sentenced, you're sentenced.
Madam Chief Justice.
Until the sentence is set aside.
Ukibeba vitu kwa roho utakufa. If you carry things in your heart, you will die.
You've had the luxury of living for 50 years and you cannot still explain yourself. Surely. Oh my God.
The reason for which you went to school and then gathered experience, that reason must be paid for.
All right.
Oh, okay.
This level.
Shape up or ship out.
Levels don't change.
No.
Since about shipping up.
You know my business partner here.
Shipping out.
Are we talking about the ship in the bathtub? Or
the ship man.
man of Talam used to tell us a story of they were in school and they've been told to write
We know it is cold, but Cold Stone Creamery has hot deals for you. This month, enjoy cups of rich and creamy ice cream, delicious ice cream cakes, and fresh oven-baked cakes at amazing prices. Visit any of our stores in Nairobi or Mombasa and indulge in your favorite treats. Cold Stone Creamery, the ultimate ice cream experience.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Weka kitu ya guest. Mwambie weke kitu kingine.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they are getting per year, how much inconvenience they are causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working, and the assistant chef, wakati anatekana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Have you seen them? Am I lying?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good job.
You. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Evan Wasingishu was asking me, what channel is Spice FM?
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, we're back. The conversation continues. Sorry, we had a technical hitch for a moment there, but we are live at the Mnarani Club in Kilifi, right by the Kilifi Creek, enjoying the sunrise this morning and broadcasting from here, Kenya's biggest conversation. We're saying we shall not just sit back and normalize when people just get up and get so extremely violent against one another.
No, we cannot. And this discussion around mental health has to continue.
Yes.
We have to highlight it. We have to keep talking about it. If we have to every single day, we will. Because it is a bad place to be in. It's a terrible place to be in.
I don't think we realize the severity of the situation at the moment. And it's affecting across the board. I mean, I read something just the other day that we have children at the age of 9, 10, 8 presenting with mental health issues. This is not just this variety of where we see somebody throwing hot coals at somebody, you know, it's across board, and none of them can be seen as a lesser situation in terms of severity.
Yeah.
It all must be dealt with. Otherwise, I don't know where we are hurtling towards. It is not looking good at all, because we're going from somebody being depressed and being in a situation of seclusion all the way to abuse because of mental health. It's an issue. It really is.
It is. Now, you know, though, we're talking about the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company and what it does. So it is sort of a refinancing the lenders. So you have to go to your bank or your SACCO, and this is the first and only mortgage refinancing company in the world that also incorporates SACCOs into the scheme. So you go into your SACCO or you go into your bank and you ask for a home loan and they give it to you. Then that institution goes to KMRC to get the money from there. There was a similar program that was launched, but now this one not for owning homes but for running businesses by President Uhuru Kenyatta, former President Uhuru Kenyatta last year. It was the Credit Guarantee Scheme. Had you ever heard about it?
I heard about it, but it's one of those things you hear about and you're not very certain what on earth it actually is.
You're not really sure what
Not really. You've heard of it. You say, okay, credit means money, yes, but beyond that, how does it work? Who can make it work? Who does it benefit? Not very clear. No.
Now, let me tell you, in that, as you are wallowing in your miasma of ignorance, some SMEs went to the Credit Guarantee Scheme and took 2,609 loans amounting to 4.12 billion shillings.
At what?
4 billion shillings has been lent to SMEs, MSMEs in Kenya under the Credit Guarantee Scheme.
How does it work really?
The Credit Guarantee Scheme encourages banks to disburse credit to borrowers that they would otherwise turn away, confident that they will be compensated in the case of defaults. The credit deployed to MSMEs by participating banks is now 4.12 billion shillings and is expected to keep growing. This is according to outgoing Treasury CS Ukur Yatani. As the economy continues to revive from the recession occasioned by COVID-19, the utilization of the current guarantee capital is expected to increase. The fund was established to enhance access to quality and affordable credit for the growth and operation of MSMEs, which would otherwise find it difficult to access loans from commercial banks. A select group of commercial banks issue the loans and can be compensated for up to a quarter of losses from defaults using the cash provided by the Treasury, which now stands at 3 billion shillings. The 7 participating banks are: number 1, Credit Bank; 2, ABSA; 3, Diamond Trust Bank; 4, KCB, NCBA Bank, Stanbic Bank, and the Cooperative Bank of Kenya. The loan limit is at 5 million shillings per borrower with a repayment period of 36 months. The credit facilities range from 30,000 shillings to 5 million, with the average portfolio size of 1.5 million shillings, according to Atani, who said the beneficiaries took an average of 25 months to complete payment. Imagine. These things are happening, but not much awareness has been created. Well, those that know. Are they the real intended beneficiaries of this particular scheme?
You know, it begs the question. We've had these associations that deal with what we refer to as artisans, or what we call the Juakali sector.
Yeah.
There is a state corporation that actually oversees their work. Now, are we saying that this that group of
MSMEs.
that one, okay,
Yes.
are we saying that through their organizations they were able to access this money, or are we talking about the SMEs that fall under the category of startup businesses, or what are we talking about? The reason why I ask this question is because some of these small enterprises that comprise or go under the name of Juakali, it's where the bulk of our citizens work.
Yep.
So are we saying that these are the monies that they've spread right across these sort of individuals? Again, specifically, what SMEs are we talking about?
Yeah.
Because if the scheme was initiated by the government, and you do have a state corporation that oversees these groups of people who, as I said, form the largest portion of the business community you have in this country, if indeed, perchance, they haven't benefited from this scheme directly, then this scheme...
Then you ask yourself,
exactly
then who?
Yes.
Which state corporation is this? KIE?
No, not KIE. I'm trying to remember what the name is. When I remember, I will tell you.
That deals with Juakali?
Yes. That's what they do. They deal with the Juakali sector. That's
So
all
if
they
you're
do.
saying that those who are swimming in these waters cannot be pinpointed as actual beneficiaries of this scheme,
All right.
then
It's called...
I'm asking you now.
Okay, yes, hallelujah.
He has a business card.
Sorry. We need
in
to
the
get-
jacket.
Yes,
The jacket.
Jacket. Document carrier. Micro and Small Enterprise Authority.
Okay, so now my question. Are you saying if you cannot pinpoint the particular those ones that have benefited from this, then there's a question
I have to ask.
Yeah.
So who is this for?
Who are these 2,612 loans
loanees
going? Who are they?
The thing is, it's a beautiful scheme. The first time that this was floated was around 2018. All right. How do we support MSMEs to stay afloat, to run their business? You know, all the things that MSMEs need, whether it's operating cash, whether it's all those things, right? Or whether it's capex, maybe you want to expand and you want to buy some new piece of equipment. So you go to a bank and banks will ask you, so let's see your cash flow. And your statement is just all over the place.
Cash flow.
And the bank is like, risk assessment, nah.
Wait, risky kabisa.
Risky. So the government now comes in and says, it's okay, lend them. In the event that they default, not saying that you're not going to follow them up, but in the event that they default, we at least guarantee you that we can get some money back. Beautiful. Because this then supports the MSME sector. Now, when this thing was unveiled, because I actually remember that event, which was attended by the president and the CEOs of these commercial banks, at the height of COVID, what should have followed next was maximum public awareness, some publicity around it. Let everybody know that if you run an MSME, all you need to do is have your records in order, all right? For example, this is a place where Wahorondoho and Sandbox would be coming and saying, you've been supported, you work with these MSMEs, build their capacity in terms of bookkeeping, in terms of their records, and then if Sandbox of Wahorondoho has put their signature there and said, we've actually worked with these ones, give them a loan, fine, and such kind of things. So everybody then knows, I can go and get a loan through the credit guarantee scheme.
Because Wahorondoho and Sandbox know the details of what is required by these institutions. So they will guide you and say, okay, this is what you have. Let us show you how we can package this so that the CV is acceptable.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
Now, why I pulled out this card is because before I met this gentleman, I didn't know that there existed a micro and small enterprise authority.
Does he know?
He's the board chair.
Oh.
The guy who gave me this card is the board chair.
So he knows that they exist.
He knows that he's the board chair. A gentleman like James Mureo. Yes, he was also chair of the Chamber of Commerce in Mombasa at some point or the other. He's been in this line of work. Now you tell me, imagine a situation where Wahorondoho, Sandbox, and the authority starts working to streamline the CVs of all these enterprising Kenyans so that they can benefit from this.
Yeah.
Is that not what economic revolution is all about?
That's it. I mean, we talk about these opportunities. 4 billion shillings has been given out and as loans.
That's a lot of money.
Number one, because of the opaqueness of this whole process, you have to ask yourself, are we sure it's not well-connected, well-willed individuals who actually were informed and taking these loans, and knowing full well that this is a guarantee scheme by the government, then they can play
with it.
Not repay, because the person delivered and said,
yes, who's going to do what?
Yeah.
And then all you'll be told is that these supposed MSMEs were in default.
Yes.
And there's nothing we can do about it. We just have to move on because these companies have folded.
Yes.
Meanwhile, individuals who may be behind these have walked away scot-free with this money.
And given the times in which we live in, explanations are not difficult. Climate change, COVID, now Ebola is just threatening. The other day, God knows who also threatened us on Twitter. So all these things make it very difficult to do business.
So a company just defaults and money goes.
You know, it isn't very far-fetched because if you talk to people in the financial sector, one of the things that banks don't announce and don't talk about, but the fraud cases they deal with from their own employees is profound. They don't talk about it. It isn't good business. But you see, it's that mental health situation that we're talking about. How do you have a situation when you as a bank, instead of waiting for outsiders to come and defraud you, it's your insiders who know exactly how you function who are a threat to you? It's not a good thing, is it?
No.
It really isn't.
Now, you take that thought to what we're referring to here and ask yourself, and Eric got it spot on. Can you imagine the number and the sort of people, given Kenyans as we know ourselves, who look at this scheme, instead of looking at how it can benefit people, they look at how can we defraud this scheme?
How can we get 4 billion shillings from government?
Yes,
actually, we need 4 billion shillings.
Yes.
There exists this particular scheme.
Yes.
How about we have a chance
And it even has
how we
money.
can retract this 4 billion shillings
Yes.
from here? All we need to do is pose as, small and medium enterprise in need of seed capital
But it's not
to
difficult.
move forward. It's not difficult
It's
to
not difficult
conjure
at
up
all.
these things. And we are not talking about things that possibly could exist. We are talking about things that have been
We
done.
have seen it before.
We've seen it happen. We've seen it happen.
We've seen it before. So, Okuri Attorney, good stuff. If you say 2,609 loans have been disbursed, worth 4.12 billion shillings. All right. 0.12 is 120 million shillings. That alone. What's another 4? Hey.
So essentially, they've loaned out the sort of money that is equal to the net worth of one Musalia Mudavadi.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Accumulated over how many decades?
All his life.
Yes.
He's 62 years old.
Yes, and they're telling us...
Started being an MP at 27 or 29.
Man, it was not 30, was it? Around 26, if I'm not wrong.
In his 20s,
Yes. So you're telling us that there are these people who in the space of this 1 year have gone and borrowed 4 billion.
Yeah.
Borrowed what you've
But-
done in your life.
Yes.
It's possible if they were genuine.
My friend, even 10 is possible. But details of this would actually really make sense if we could just know it is this sort of enterprise. This is what they were doing.
One could hope.
Wouldn't it be a wonderful thing if you could be told stories of those who started off making 1 sufuria and now make 100? And they've even improved the design.
Because of the seed capital.
Yes, wouldn't it be a wonderful thing?
That's the truth.
Yep. You see that this person actually went and they were able to access the maximum 5 million shillings.
Yes.
And they have been able to repay, and all the loans are performing fine.
And if someone has been surviving in this business all this time, despite the ups and downs of our economy, you tell me, don't you think they understand their business?
Of course they do.
For sure they do.
They do. Don't they understand their customer base? They do.
Of course they do.
What do you think a little more cash injection would do for their business?
And we're not talking about huge, colossal amounts of money either.
Yep.
We're talking about a small boost or a small jump.
Yep.
But then the thing about many of these Yuakali things that people don't understand, they're a really well-organized bunch. Yes. They have their own little organization, depending whether you are a welder or whether you are a mason. They have them.
Yep.
Yeah.
What they've lacked and what they wanted, you see, what Eric has talked about is what they wanted, and it was created.
It was created for them.
Now let's look for the benefits, and let's see if they've actually benefited from it.
They should have. Edna, we're going to take a break shortly, right? I think so. It's about 7:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room, broadcasting from Kilifi. Tell them where we are.
We're just ahead of the Kilifi Creek and crossing over to one side of the county. It looks great from behind us, right here. And the life...
Behind us, pal in Kilifi Town, pal.
Yes, so from
Kilifi
town.
Town,
So you cross over the creek, you've left the town behind us. And it's really great atmosphere, great ambience, but we're waking up with the county of Kilifi this morning.
Yeah. And we've come also here. We'll be having several sessions tomorrow. We'll talk to our friends at Kemri Welcome Trust, right? They're also based here, a beautiful facility. Tell us about that facility.
Well, when you hear Welcome Trust and you think Welcome Trust, does not sound like some pharmaceutical company. Well, yes, the name Welcome is associated with the pharmacy, but the connection here is not just Welcome Trust. The connection here is also with Oxford University. Research by its very nature is collaborative.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be surprise you, because if you go, say, to one of the 14 centers that Kenya Medical Research Institute has all over the country, you will find very many such centers in association. Kisumu, at a place called Kisian, they have the CDC Kemri, or Kemri CDC. That is the association they have with the CDC of Atlanta. If you go to Kemri headquarters, there's a lot of collaboration that they've had over the years with JICA, the Japanese International Overseas Corporation. All I'm saying is, to understand research is to understand collaboration. Now, Welcome Trust has grown over the years, beginning with looking at malaria, moving on to vector diseases, looking into microbiological diseases, looking into mental illness, growing and getting to look at the things that believe this particular area in which they are nestled in. And they are literally next to what was formerly the Kilifi District Hospital, which is now the Kilifi County Hospital. You will find that even when Kemri was set up, and those many years ago, I think it was 19, if I'm not wrong, inaugurated in the early 60s, it was nestled within the compound of Kenyatta National Hospital.
Right.
The center that is now referred to Center for Public Health Research was actually the headquarters of Kemri, right at Kenyatta National Hospital compound, opposite the post office at Kenyatta National Hospital. It then moved to Ngumo. So you can see we have witnessed the growth of Kemri, not just within Nairobi, Kwale, Kilifi, Alupe in Busia, even to northeastern Kenya, and to the mountains as we call it. So, Kemri has actually been spreading its wings. Yes.
Okay, 14 centers countrywide.
14 centers countrywide.
We'll be visiting one of those centers tomorrow. We'll be broadcasting live from the center in Kilifi.
Yes.
It's called Kemri Welcome Trust.
Yes.
And it's a center for what? Research?
Well,
we'll tell you tomorrow. Now, you see, they were saying that Ednah has denied you the opportunity.
Yes.
The once in a lifetime opportunity to say, back to you in studio. But you'll do it at the top of the hour. Yes. So let's continue. She says no break.
All right, no problem. Because I want to tell you that one of the things that the Deputy President has said in the recent few days,
yes,
that has this time made me happy.
Riggy G.
He said something that has actually made me happy, and it's hopefully it will spur people into action. We must produce food or perish, says Gachagua.
Right.
The government will support smallholder farmers to produce drought-resistant crop. This is on the same page as that story that you were telling us about the loans. To fight hunger, according to Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. He said the government has a robust plan to support the farmers with subsidized fertilizer, which has already reached many parts of the country. We've had 3.5 million people facing starvation. That include more than 1 million children below 5 years and 100,000 expected mothers. He was saying this during the World Food Day at Rombo in Kajiado South yesterday. 11 counties are at an alarming rate countrywide as the effects of drought hit hard. He urged Kenyans to produce food in every available space. So if you have something behind your compound,
food.
Something. You have a square, plant something. He added that the government had invested 3.5 billion shillings to buy 1.5 million bags of fertilizer. He said we have an acute shortage of staple foods such as maize, rice and potatoes. We are already working with international partners to support farmers in climate smart agriculture in 24 counties. So climate smart agriculture, of course, when you're looking at using limited water, you're looking at using drip irrigation, you're looking at using doing air farming, right? That's what now smart agriculture is. He said they set aside 900 million shillings for relief food support, which has managed to pay 90,000 bags of beans, 90,000 bags of rice, and 10,000 cartons of canned beef. Have you had canned beef? He urged farmers to diversify from rain-fed agriculture to drought-resistant food and irrigation. So again, you're looking at your drip irrigation where you use little amounts of water, but you can still reap a harvest. He said the government will be supporting poultry and fish farming to cover the grain shortage in the country. At the same time, he promised more cooperation with international humanitarian organizations, and he said we must produce food or we will die.
May I just append something to what you've just read? There is a government organization called CALRO.
There is.
There is a government organization called KEMFRI, Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research
Institute.
Yes. If the research institutions that we have in this country are not supported, we're talking food here, not medical, not health, food. If they get the support that they need, given the background and the success stories that these institutions have, everything that the Deputy President has mentioned there, it's not will be a reality, it already is a reality.
Yeah.
All the grain that he's speaking of, drought resistance, we have them.
It's been developed.
We have them. We've even exported the technology.
Yeah.
We've exported grass. Are you telling me that if Brazil have benefited from our own innovations here in Kenya, Australia has benefited from our innovations of the sort of grass that you required to feed your livestock? Israel. Are you telling me that we then cannot be able to ensure that this is available for the livestock we have in this country?
I think you're on the money with that, because that's the thing. It's not for want of, the expertise. I mean, you have some brilliant people, Professor Victoria, who came out of Calro, for example. We're looking at the drought-resistant potato. We're looking at the greens that can actually be grown through air agriculture.
Yes.
So it's not for want of these ideas. It's not for want of. They've been tested, they've been tried, they can be done.
They work.
I went to the Calvary complex and I saw some of the brilliant things that Kenyans, not anybody else, Kenyans have tried, tested, and they are working. But without the requisite support, it would be very difficult to get some of these things. Look, I understand what the DP is saying in terms of you must start to produce your own. in order to then be able to feed yourself. But it must be supported. The drought-resistant potato, for example. Are we making sure that it is going across county? Drought-resistant potato means that it will grow in arid, it will grow in semi-arid. Where the rain is minimal, you will still be able to grow food. We have drought-resistant crop. We have methods for drying meat, fish, pork. They're there. They're available. But if you don't push it, it is not possible for it to happen. It will continue sitting in the museum in Nairobi, because that's what it will be. You will have an agricultural museum where people can come and see that Kenyans have come up with these great
innovations and inventions.
Great innovations, but they were never used.
You know what happened in the 90s in this country with a structural adjustment program by the IMF? It's like they came and did a structural brain program. They influenced the withdrawal of farmers' support, that last mile support that farmers need with the extension services. Everybody plus their mother will tell you that is what we need a return of. Farmer extension services, because that's the one that provides that last mile connectivity between the research institutions, that knowledge, and the knowledge getting to the farmers. Farmers will not go to Calro to ask, Sasa mnataka tupande nini? People will not come from Rombo to come to ask.
So that information via the extension officers needs to make it to the smallest area at the county level. That is
and
why
at some level,
there.
we may actually need to go back to what used to happen before, where there's an officer who would even tell you, people, start cultivating now. You will plant at this point. This season, I don't want to see anybody with beans. You know, that's what agricultural officers used to come and do.
But that's what they used to do.
Doing this because they're doing crop rotation. They know, so if we do this for the other. If now, because of greater access to information, it's more about educating people. If you do this in this season, the other season, do this.
But it used to be
do
that way,
crop
Eric.
rotation.
Here is your crop, here's your maize. Plant your beans in between your maize.
Yep.
Turn over your crop. For 3 months, do not plant.
Do not
you
do
will
this
still
and the
have
other.
enough.
Yeah. That is what is needed, just that awareness and that information going to the farmers. And it should be well structured.
Do you know what is strange? We are talking about this thing as though it's really in the distant past. If it is, then I'm also in the distant past. A time when the village folk were actually self-sufficient in their food. They were self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Some of us, in the early years of our life, did not know that vegetables were bought.
Of course not.
You went to the kitchen garden, even if you lived in town.
Yeah.
Every day, you took the leaves of vegetable that you required for cooking. Even the onions. What I'm saying is, the thinking that had been in the rural areas was even transported into towns. When you visited the rural homes, actually, you bought sugar, you bought salt, and maybe cooking oil, maybe. But everything else was actually available.
This is very true, Siti, because even your poultry, your chicken, whatever, even if it was a once a month kind of thing, you nick a chicken from the backyard, that's what you were going to cook.
Yes.
Your vegetables were in there,
They were there.
They were there.
Yes.
So you bought the things that you want to say were quote unquote refined, like you're saying,
Yes, and these extension workers were not just for agriculture. They were health extension workers. They were social extension workers. That's why, for instance, traditional birth attendants were able to work because, again, the extension services that we nowadays refer to as community, for instance, health workers, community agricultural workers, community social. This cadre of support system can be renamed as you see fit, but they were a necessary link, as Eric has put it. Because all that knowledge that came from up there, you needed someone to cascade it and walk with the individuals, walk them through it. And I'm saying it was a success story.
That's all we need.
It was a success story.
When Riggy goes to Rombo in Kajiado South and says, you know what, we've got to be food sufficient, it's true. He also now, because he, number one, sits at the summit of the governors and the national government and also chairs IBEC, have this conversation with governors. What kind of support does the Ruto administration need to give the counties so that counties can actually do better in agriculture? One of the things that President Ruto has committed is to devolve more and more of the functions, right? It's called unbundling. So he needs to is unbundling more of the functions. If it's agriculture, there's still some functions that are at national level. He's unbundling those and taking them to the counties. Have those conversations. Looking forward to a summit where they discuss, these are the things that you guys need. This is how we can go about rolling it out. use the Council of Governors, use the Intergovernmental Technical Relations Committee, work on the technical modalities of this so that then counties are able to take up this job and not just do it as lip service. Oh, we have hired 3,000 extension officers and extension workers. No, it's a proper program that is well coordinated across the country, depending on the needs for every county.
I hear what you're saying. This is interesting because of the 9 functions that came under the Deputy President's office. I will check the exact name, but then agriculture and environment, in terms of the associations came under his office.
Yep.
It would be nice to see that there's actually something done about this. And as you talk about it being, this is where he says if you have some land plant, if you have something plant and grow food, if you ask me, it's not retrogressive in terms of development. If anything, it's progressive, because what you want to do is make sure that you're growing food at any one time, at any one place that you can, but it must be supported. You can say it as long as the day is, but it must be supported. It must be supported.
You know, what I like about the talking about it is that you get to hear it. It means it's something they've thought about. And I would encourage him to keep talking about it. And then immediately thereafter, come up with the structure of how they're going to build it. But he must continue talking about it because it's important. We can be self-sufficient in food. This thing about this country and some semi-arid areas can't work. There's a place in Mombasa called Simba. Dry as can be. Calro have a site there. It always shocks me. You come, there's this patch of land, my friend, I say dry, you are looking and say this place is dry. Then this greenery hits you. And it's spread. The site that once puzzled me, I actually parked a car on the side of the road just to have a look at this thing. Maize that was just slightly higher than the length of my knee. Okay? But it was producing. I was supposed to go and read about it. The things that we can do, the things we've already done, and the link between what we can do, what we've done, and the citizenry benefit from it. If this government can just connect that link, these things we keep talking about, they'll be a thing of the past.
Indeed.
We don't have to look for technology. We already have the technology.
We have so much know-how. It frustrates those that are sitting and spending their days on research in labs and going out in the field and and they're working so hard, and then they come up with something and they say this one, for example, can work in Makueni County. All right, we have developed this kind of grass. If we use this grass in ranching, it would really benefit.
And you know how ranching works, huh? You know the paddock system where cows graze in this particular area for a while.
Yeah.
So when they're not grazing on the other, you plant the grass.
Exactly.
So as you rotate it, by the time you rotate it, that entire space will have the grass that you need.
Yeah.
And guess what? That problem will cease. You talk about abattoirs.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to actually build it. It could be mobile.
Yes.
Everything that we think and talk about can be done.
We're talking about hunger and all, and the challenges that we see. All right. For example, Kilifi County is one of those counties that's seriously affected, right?
Yes.
What is it that can be done to move Kilifi from that state? Galana Kulalu is in Tana River and the Kilifi counties. Okay? There's a lot of potential in the Galana Kulalu scheme. They started it, they ate the money, whatever they did, they abandoned it, it's not working.
It went south.
It just didn't work. Okay? River Sabaki. All these places, it's possible to actually look and see how can we work within the county and make this county be able to produce. Look at the entire stretch of coastline that Kilifi County covers. And you're talking about the marine life and blue economy.
Yes.
How much can blue economy be supported in this and be accelerated? Because they'll tell you there are very many projects that they're working on here, supporting the beach communities, supporting the local communities on mangrove growing, supporting the what and this.
Not
and the
enough.
other.
Not enough.
How can you accelerate this and just scale it up?
It isn't enough, and yet we have had partners who have wanted to support and help and ensure that these economies actually grow. What do you think when you have a foreign country seeing the potential of our Tana River and the regions therein, and asking and seeking to lease a certain portion of it to actually do the very thing we're talking about, farming.
Yeah.
They saw it, they knew, they understood for their own good. Now, you know this river we speak of, you know it empties into the Indian Ocean.
Just Indian Ocean.
And it is not
just up the road.
Yes, and it is not a seasonal river. Okay. That land is fertile. You only need to go and see it. And yet, every so often, you hear of people in that region suffering because they don't have enough food. It is shocking.
And this is the thing, at the end of the day, unfortunately, I think it ties or it boils down to two things. It's goodwill and implementation. The implementation of these strategies that people have toiled for months to come up with, implement them. It cannot be that you have this resource basically hitting you in the face and then you don't use it.
Yeah.
And then the people who live in the area are dying of hunger. Something else. Tell me something else, but not of hunger.
And we've got to move away from talking. So it's good, yes, that the Deputy President Rigiji was in Rombo speaking and telling the people, let's plant. The people of Rombo know that they need to plant.
They need to plant.
What kind of support do they need? You know, Rombo, what grows there? They do maize, potatoes, they do French beans. They have irrigation there. They would depend on rainwater from rain, and then there's a lot of water coming down Kilimanjaro. There's irrigation that happens big time there. Tomatoes, onions, French beans, like you're saying. There's even somebody who has a big farm there who's doing large-scale avocado farming. But what is it that the small-scale farmers need in terms of support? I think, number one, extension services, because there then they get the expertise, they get the knowledge. They're told, so this time let's do this, let's do the other. They get to be organized in terms of forming cooperatives to deal with harvesting. They get to be organized of cooperatives. Then they can use economies of scale in terms of buying purchase of inputs rather. Support at that level. Don't just go and tell people, panda chakula bwana.
While we're on the subject of talk, there's something I would music to my ears if this government started talking about how they are going to end this impunity-driven corruption, which is the bane of our existence when it comes to these things.
Yeah.
We have it on paper, it's well documented, it just never happens. And even when you want to make it happen, the people want to extort money from you, because that's what it is. It's profound.
Extortion.
At the national level, the extortionists. At the county level, the extortionists. And that puts paid to every plan you may have. It just doesn't take off. And when you stop functioning with the extortionists around you, then those who are just straightforward, upfront pilferers, people who just
vultures,
yes,
waiting for the kill.
If this is halted, the money will go to where it is intended, and the things we are saying we will see.
Yeah.
It is something this government must address.
Our friend Dr. Justice Ungo, who happens to live in Kilifi, but when we've come to Kilifi, happens to be away from Kilifi.
Is now in
Nairobi. Saying that Kilifi can grow food. There are farmers growing maize in small plots in Bomani. Fruits are doing extremely well. If you could value add the coconut products and stop cutting them, extension services times 10, veterinary services, and all these others, that's what's needed.
Yep.
Explore the full potential of this area and see this is exactly what we want to see. So let's conclude the hour's conversation by looking back into the vetting that's going on. President Ruto is going to get his cabinet secretaries. I mean, I don't see any, in the very unlikely event that any of them is not passed by the vetting committee, that will make big news. But as far as we know, the sun rose from the east this morning.
We saw it.
It was beautiful. And
it's still rising.
President William Ruto is going to get his cabinet nominees approved. Well, the questions that we are saying that we hope to see being the various nominees being asked is with regards to their own integrity, their own history, what they've done, accountability, and let them know that people are watching. If you are Moses Kuri and you've been given the job of trade and industry, people are watching. People expect to see what you will do with that ministry. If you are Professor Njogona Ndongo and you're heading the treasury, people want to see exactly what your thinking is with regards to the economy. People will take you back and ask you, so as a university don, as a researcher, as a central bank governor, this question arose. How do you respond to that? And it's got to be put on the spot. Now, it's because that is somebody asking the question is against President Ruto or Professor Jogona Ndongo or any of the nominees. No. It's serving the people of Kenya.
This is it. And the thing is, because already it looks as though it's coming from a compromise point of view. And I'm not saying compromise because somebody had a chat with you, but more or less that, okay, so we need to vet these guys. Okay, so let's come and sit for the next however many days that needs to be done and let it go on record that we've actually done this. The questions that may be asked, that we saw some of the questions coming out yesterday, could be done because that is what is expected of people to ask me this. But am I really vested or interested in the implication of the answer or the implication of what the process that this individual went through historically, the impact that it could have on the country because this person sits in that particular office, which is for me what ought to be looked at. That how is this person going to run this ministry? How is this person going to run the affairs of water in the country? How is this person going to run the affairs of defense in the country based on what they've done historically? How many people, when they do this vetting, Opio Wandai, Junet Mohammed, as they ask these questions in Parliament, are they really interested in what is going to happen within the four walls of those ministries with these people sitting at the helm? Are they? Because if they were, then they would be able to then say, based on the answers that we've been given, we say go ahead or we say absolutely not.
History has a way of teaching us things we may not particularly want to know. Huh? And perhaps there are times when you have to have a new dawn and you have to have changes. You see, we are discussing this going by the history of how these things are done elsewhere and how they've been done here. And we are judging people in positions, or the ministerial positions, by the way we judged others in the past. You look at someone like Kibaki. Kibaki worked his way up, was an assistant minister. He went through a whole slew of things. That age group that seems to have died off. If you look at their history, they served their time. By the time they got to those positions, you couldn't say they did not know how government works. But I have to ask the question, when I look at this cabinet, does it inspire confidence in that we have people who know how government works? That's why I said, maybe it's the dawn of a new era and let's rethink. Maybe we experimented with technocrats. Now we're experimenting again with this new era with politicians. Who knows? They may actually surprise us and produce results that we hadn't anticipated. Because we could argue politicians know the pulse of the people. So they would know what needs to be done, as opposed to bureaucrats who just crank up numbers probably.
Know what needs to be done and actually doing it, however, CT are two totally different things.
Isn't it just?
Completely different. You could know what ought to be done, but then will you actually do it? That's something totally different.
Completely. Going to the top of the hour, this is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's a Situation Room. We're live on SpiceFM and KTN Home. We are coming to you live from the Mnarani Club in Kilifi County, right by the Kilifi Creek. What you're seeing behind us is Kilifi Town, and what you're seeing between that is the Kilifi Creek. Ndu is still asking people to run, but we'll tell you more about it. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
Naweza ongea.
Spice up your life.
President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua today expected to attend the burial ceremony of former INEBCO member of Parliament William Chepkut. Chepkut's body arrived in Eldoret town yesterday before a funeral service was held at the AIC Fellowship Church. His sons remembered their dad as a hard-working man who cared for the society.
I believe my father has given so much to others and to his constituency. The money he has poured, the jobs he's looked for, the people he has employed, he has done a lot. I am going to be honest, there have been some challenges and hardships along the way with getting my dad to his final destination.
Chipgood collapsed in his house and was rushed to Medihill Hospital, Parklands, where he was pronounced dead. And unregistered SIM card users will face a gradual service denial, including phone, SMS, data, and mobile banking, unless they register within the next 60 days. Communications Authority Director General Ezra Chiloba says that so far, 40 million Kenyans are able to meet the SIM card re-registration deadline, with 93% of them being Safaricom subscribers and 84% Airtel subscribers.
Companies such as Safaricom, who is the leading mobile service provider, has registered significant compliance rate, and here we are talking about 93% of all their subscribers are duly registered. And when you talk about those numbers, we are talking about up to 40 million.
Chiloba further says that they've sent out a team to inquire challenges that subscribers face during registration. He adds that they'll further investigate individuals who have not registered their SIM cards after shutting them down. However, the question remains, will the re-registration process deal with SIM card fraudsters who rob from innocent Kenyans every other day? We wait to see. Now, the lady who nicknamed Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua Rigiji has earned herself a job in his office. Ivy Chelimo made headlines after she shared his new name with Kenyans. Speaking while in Kajiado, Gachagua said that the move is based on a promise he made to acknowledge young talent. Gachagua had instructed his sons to look for Chelimo, saying he accepts the name Rigiji as one way of motivating the youth who are in the creative sector. Now, the man suspected of shooting dead Ida Odinga's bodyguard Corporal Barack Odor will remain in police custody for 14 more days pending investigations. Okundi was arrested after going into hiding following the Thursday incident. Detectives say a Jericho pistol, which is believed to be the one used in the murder, 1 magazine and 7 rounds of ammunition were recovered from him during the arrest. Elsewhere, Kiambu politician Gladys Chania, who is a suspect in her husband's murder, George Mwangi, has also been detained for 7 more days to complete investigations. Chania, a prominent counseling psychologist, is among 3 more suspects who police are holding to help with investigations to ascertain Mwangi's murder that sleuths describe as the worst in the recent past. And the International Monetary Fund has thrown its weight behind budget cuts by developing economies as an intervention to tightening external funding. In its updated economic outlook report for sub-Saharan Africa, the multilateral lender says budget cuts will be pivotal in preserving fiscal sustainability by absorbing an otherwise higher interest bill. According to the IMF, global financial conditions are set to become tougher over coming months as advanced economies move to raise interest rates. And Moscow has stepped up attacks across Ukraine, cutting electricity and killing 8 people, including a kamikaze drone strikes in the capital as a Russian warplane crashed near the border. The plane struck a residential area of Yesk, a town southwest of Russia, according to Russian authorities. At least 6 people were killed and 19 injured. A spokesperson for Russian Ministry of Emergency Situation said while giving an updated toll. Moscow is thought to be trying to counter battlefield losses in its 8-month war in Ukraine by waging a punitive policy of striking energy facilities before winter, in a move President Vladimir Putin hopes will weaken resistance. Ukraine said 4 people were killed in Kyiv, including a married couple expecting a baby, and another 4 in the northeastern region of Sunny. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Traffic on Vibes Radio.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Huh? What? She's staying.
Let me talk to her. Traffic fence.
All right, looking at traffic is building up in several parts of the city this morning. Coming off of the Thika Superhighway, it's well past Survey out towards the CBD. And we have some coming off of Kiambu Road as well. Heavy bumper-to-bumper traffic in and outbound. And a few minutes after 8 o'clock, also brings some traffic coming off Jogo Road towards Landis. Not too bad as you get to the neck of Kamkunji. We're also looking at it coming off Gong Road, pretty heavy. It is going to connect with Haile Selassie, looking at different parts of the city. I'm looking over the Kilifi Creek, and there's not much happening in getting into Kilifi town this morning. Traffic is flowing really smoothly, and so we're grateful for it. Talk to us through the morning about what's happening where you are. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let's move things this Tuesday morning.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
Good morning. If you're just joining us, welcome to the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. This is the Situation Room on Spice FM on KGN Home. We're broadcasting live from Kilifi County this morning at the Mnarani Club, right by the creek in Kilifi County. And we are here today and tomorrow. We are now being hosted by the local area MP for Kaloleni constituency. Before we welcome and introduce him, C.T. Muga has the day's proverb. But before C.T. Muga tells us about the day's proverb, Ndu, with this kind of warmth and all, you're still feeling good about the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon?
Oh, absolutely. It gets things moving, doesn't it? Just the 30th of October means that you can all come out and run in the Nairobi Standard Chartered Marathon. And we know that the virtual run is also happening between the 23rd and the 30th. There's a run in Mombasa come the 23rd. And then there's a run in Kisumu and Kakamega on the 28th and the 29th. You must have registered for the virtual run to take place, or rather to take part in those runs before the 30th. But then the physical run takes place on the 30th in Nairobi. If you've registered, now is the time to get moving. So come the 30th, you know what you're doing.
Indeed. CT,
Yes.
take us to Somalia.
Yes. If a mule grazes with horses, it thinks it is also a horse.
If a mule grazes with horses, it thinks it's also a horse.
Yes, there's that little detail, yes.
The Somali people.
They say company maketh a man. In this
Yeah.
case,
Company
maketh a mule.
Company maketh a horse. MP Mheshimiwa Paul Katana is the Member of Parliament for Kaloleni constituency, where we are this morning. Yeah?
This is Kilifi.
This is Kilifi North. This is Kilifi North. Ujambo lakini.
Ni nashukuru Mwenyezi Mungu.
Yes.
Asante
sana for joining us for the Situation Room this morning.
Yes.
This proverb from Somalia. Do you relate? A mule hangs around horses, it starts believing, I'm also a horse.
Yes, you know, if you believe in something, definitely will be part and parcel of what you believe in. So it is good.
It is, eh? Yeah. So this is what happens to members of parliament when they go in there and they start behaving like parliament.
No. You see, we should not put a general blanket to everybody.
Not all mules think they're horses.
Yes,
okay.
not all.
Some mules know they're mules, and they stay mules.
And they stay as mules.
And the horses also know they're horses. Yes.
Mheshimiwa, first of all, congratulations on your re-election.
Thank you.
As we see members of parliament getting back into parliament, we keep talking about, and we've talked about this many times, how members of parliament are kicked out every 5 years. Over 60% of MPs are basically just kicked out. This is the first time in a long time where a majority of those in parliament are
retaining their seats.
Yeah. What does that say about, is it that you guys did well? Because, my God, the 12th parliament was horrible.
Let me take this opportunity first to thank the Carolinians to have elected me for the second time. You know, I'm the first member of parliament to be re-elected after 20 years.
What?
Yeah. There have been one-term members of parliament, but I thank God that the Carolinians had confidence and they believed in me on what I've done, and they re-elected me. So I'm equal to the task, and I'll do my best.
So what you're saying, Mheshimiwa, is after the demise of Matthias Care,
yes,
every MP that Kalweni has had has been a one-term MP.
Precisely.
Until now.
Yes, and until
now.
PK.
Until PK.
You know, putting yes.
What did you do with the CDF?
No, CDF, if it is used properly, it can make a lot of difference, and the impact has been good since the CDF was started. I've managed to put new schools. I've also managed to buy.
What do you mean new schools?
I've built from the scratch. Yeah.
Piece of land that was uninhabited.
No,
and now there's
there
a
are
school.
schools. No, within the, you see, I have 96 primary schools.
Okay.
And 52 secondary schools. So I've tried to rehabilitate some and build the new ones, so that we can cope with the population that has been growing. And in fact, what they're saying, they've never seen a shule za gorofa in Kaloleni, but this is the first time I've put at least 4. So I'm optimistic that the issue of CDF will be resolved, so that we can assist. Because as I talk to you, we have quite a number of students who have not reported, because they entirely dependent on the CDF. So unless this government moves fast, a lot of children will never have the chance again to go back to school if the CDF is removed from the members of parliament, because that's the direct linkage between the member of parliament and the electorates.
Right. There's something you alluded to. You said you can, just as we started, you said you can see. So education is an issue. You can see. Yes. It is not hidden to the eye. Even driving from Malindi to Kilifi yesterday, you can see the situation. Yeah. It has, and you've said also that people have brought you back because they've seen what you have done. Yes. So we know, we can see from talking about which you remember.
To go to school. By line, 2015. So Those three cases also challenging the
still in the High Court in the 2015.
And it's one of the processes which quite number of challenges.
Yeah.
And you see, people have not yet embraced the devolution so much. They still believe that a member of parliament is everything. But there's the demarcation of responsibility. They see the most serious problem. The place is because we have never had rains for the last 4 years, so people have depended on Mungaro. 2 weeks ago, we went to a place known as
I'll tell you the source of this.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
He's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Afande hii umbo yako iko na
hii ni umba special.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
The technical hitches that we've experienced this morning, but we continue. The show must go on. This is the Situation Room. We are live from Kilifi County at the Mnarani Creek, Mnarani Club. We are just looking at the creek, and we're being hosted here by one of the local MPs from Kilifi County. This is the MP for Kaloleni, Bwana PK himself.
Yes.
You're telling us about, the issues that the people of Kaloleni are facing. Number one, you talked about children are not going to school because A, no bursary, because CDF has not been disbursed.
Yes.
B, lack of water and food.
Yes.
So children are getting up and they have to be sent for long distances.
Yes.
It's a danger for young girls because there are predators out there who are also a danger to them. So what is it that you're doing about that?
I have a very good working relation with the provincial administration. And so through the DC, we have managed to talk to our area chiefs and sub-chiefs. So at least they are also trying to sensitize people. And it can only happen when the child is alone, moving to this long distance. But when they move as with the mother, it's quite safe. Okay, I was saying that I have made a passionate appeal to the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, who is the Commander-in-Chief. We have a barracks in my constituency, Mariakani, and they have very, very good equipment. They can drill boreholes and make some dams. But the problem is that the bureaucracy. I did talk to the in charge. He said until either the minister or the permanent secretary or the president himself.
The order has to come from above.
Yes.
The above, being interviewed yesterday, said this thing of deploying military willy-nilly must come to an end.
But you see, we have seen what the military can do as a community social responsibility. They should be allowed, because this is a crisis. There's no water, there's no food. And if it continues like this until December, then you can imagine we'll lose lives. Yeah, so we need quick mitigations. I've talked to the DC this morning to ask him if there's any food from the central government. He said it's yet to come.
Okay. So food has been dispatched from the national government. We know this because we saw the Deputy President flagging off food.
Yes. And Kilifi is one of the counties that is on the list of the 23.
Yeah. We have never had rains for almost 4 years. And this has contributed to the drought situation which we are facing. What I want to say is that food which you saw, it has never reached Kilifi County, and it has never
the entire county.
Yes.
As in, okay, sorry, Mweshimiwa, we're looking at, I think we even read it today when we're in the newspaper review, 90,000 bags of grain, 90,000 bags of beans, 90,000 bags of rice distributed around the country is what we are told, right?
Canned beef.
And there was canned beef as well. 45,000 tins of canned beef. Are you saying that Kilifi County has not even received one bag of grain?
No, because the last time, 2 weeks ago, I went to the governor to a place known as Zagatsini. We distributed food there. We also did it at Kamkomani and Kazonzo. As I talk to you, why I'm still there, I've just talked to the DC. He has not received any food from the government.
Why?
I don't know, because they have been told to wait.
Okay.
So maybe it's on its way, but when it comes, we'll see how it can be spread.
What do you think of? So there are two ways of distributing relief food. One was trialed by the government at the height of COVID by President Uhuru Kenyatta, where he said, this thing of saying we are purchasing food, we are putting it in gunny bags and then flagging it off from Nairobi, ends up with a loss of wastage. The other one is a cash transfer program where you identify, work with the local communities, identify local traders, and then give people money, and they let them go and buy food from an identified local trader who then brings food. Which of those two is better, in your opinion?
All are good if they're implemented well. Yeah? Because even the food which sometimes is being distributed, it does not reach the intended people. That's where we have the problem.
Yeah.
And that's why I've told you I have a very good working relation with the area DC and the chiefs. Because once the food comes, they will alert
you.
Elected leaders, and we move together. So that's how it should be done. But you see, the central government has its own way of working. They said that we started distributing food, but Kilifi has not gotten its share. So we believe that maybe before the end of this week, we'll get something.
Okay, so something will happen for people to get food, and that's a short-term issue. However, if we go deeper into this conversation, and it will be a pain point for a lot of people, this conversation about Kilifi then, or as having been one of the counties that has not caught up. It's a painful conversation to have, but it's true that Kilifi has not caught up developmentally, right? It is evident. It can be seen. We cannot deny it, even though we can't run from the truth. Exactly. What is the problem? Because oftentimes we may want to put, as they say, a band-aid on an issue, but it doesn't solve it. What is the problem then that participatory governance must then be applied to begin to sort out these issues?
It is true. Kilifi is underdeveloped.
Yeah.
We have a lot of potential in Kilifi County. We have vast land. And if the current governor can work with stakeholders, bring them together, Kilifi will be one of the best or one of the richest counties in post-profit.
What needs to be done?
It's planning. We need to plan and execute the plans. There have been a lot of proposals on what should be done. But you see, after that, the reports have been kept under the carpet. So, and you see, let's see, we have the blue economy. Yeah. If our fishermen are empowered with new equipment, this place, fish is the most eaten food within the coast and even eggs. So if our fishermen are empowered, they can do big fishing. You know, they are using the old system of doing things. So that's number one. Number two, there's been no involvement with the elected leaders last time. But now we have agreed with the new governor. At least we meet as national leaders once in a month, so that we can also combine forces with our MCAs, because most of the time they're on the ground. So we have agreed that we should change the way things have been done, so that we come up with new plans.
Mheshimiwa Katana, what are you saying? I mean, this is your second term, okay? There's previous administration at the national level, at county level. Are you saying that there was no coordination among the leaders in the previous term?
In Kilifi.
Why?
You know, that's what I'm saying. You see, we should leave after elections are done. We should do away with the politics or party politics, because that's where the problem is. Yeah.
What's the problem? What party were you elected on? And your former governor was elected in the same...
You see, he didn't include us in his, as members of parliament in his plans, because he thought that we are supposed to do national things, and then he does his things with
the local,
which has caused this Kilifi to be underdeveloped. But what I'm saying, we have resolved. We keep our political differences, and we work for the betterment of our people. As I've told you, members of parliament only have one fund.
Yeah.
That is the CDF.
Yeah.
And you know it has a problem. So
I'm still stuck on this issue. Look, in that last term in the 12th Parliament,
yes,
there was a lot of conversation about the blue economy.
Yes.
The Jumuiya ya Counties of Pwani,
yes,
working with the local MPs and the national government, have had conversations about how to roll out the blue economy.
Yes.
With the help of development partners, World Bank is involved, there's a European Union that's involved. In fact, we even spoke to somebody from the Jumuiya,
yes,
the Secretariat, who was telling us about money that's been given out, and among the key beneficiaries were the fisher folk in Kilifi County.
But let me be specific.
Yes.
So it's called Team Europe. 250 million euros were actually put across to help this blue economy. And 6 counties of the coast that have a coastal were included in this. What we're actually asking you Did you see that money?
Did you participate in the meeting?
No. You see,
did you seek to inquire? I mean, as
of course,
somebody who represents the people.
We have inquired, and in fact, it is good that the 13th Parliament, there is a committee which will be doing blue economy. Members of Parliament will be in that committee. So something is being done, but the amount of money you are saying, I have not seen it, and I don't know where, because we can even move to down here. You'll see the fishermen. They are still using the old method.
Yeah, beach management committees were being organized or being supported. They were going to buy better, new trawlers to go deep sea fishing.
If that is
the
done,
communities and the women around were going to be helped with.
There's going to be set up a freezer system.
Yes, you can go around. There's no freezers for our fishermen. So what I'm saying is that we need now to come up with a plan to see how we can assist our fishermen. And you see, even as I said, this place has not been having rain for the last 4 years.
4 years.
Our people are still using the old methods of farming. Yeah, so they need to, we used to have the extension officers, the agricultural extension officers. They used to move to the local areas, advising farmers on the kind of crop they can do. So we need now a collective responsibility. Yeah, because the expectation from Wananchi is more to the member of parliament than even the governor. And the members of parliament have no other kit. It is only CDF. So the issue of water, the issue of health, the issue of infrastructure, it's devolved. And CDF, it is only two functions, education and security. That's all. But the bulk of the money is taken to the county government. Like Kilifi used to get we started with 9 billion. Then we moved to 12. Now we're at 15. So if we get good manager
of the 15 billion,
yes, with a good team of his executive and the chief officers, Kilifi will not be the same.
So are you saying that there's a possibility then for members of parliament to be included at the county level, and that was the county chief executive being the governor, to say that because these projects will come, there will be PPPs, for example.
Yes.
There will be private organizations who wants to do to have partnerships with government. It will be the case. What I hear you saying then is that members of parliament, those who guard at that level with where the representation of the people is concerned, that you must then be involved in these projects, because there will be another 250 million, is it billion? There will be another amount of money. But what we're saying is that we're almost saying that money came and went that could essentially have lifted people out of that poverty.
Precisely.
And we never saw it.
That's what I'm saying. With the current governor, we have agreed in principle that we should be meeting and discussing the problems from every constituency. Yeah, so that we give him the problems, and then as they sit as a county government with the MCAs, they can now do the bylaws and assist us to deliver. Because if you say that it was $2 billion US dollars, that's a lot of money. It could have made a very big change in Kilifi County.
Exactly, even more daunting about that. UN Habitat played a part in it. They had their role. You and United Nations Environmental Program had a role in it. It was a very comprehensive program that was not just intended to help the blue economy in theory, no, but to set up structures so that the ecosystem is protected, the natural environs within it, to help create eco-friendly jobs for the people. Meaning, it was the entire caboodle. It was a
package.
Very broad spectrum. Now, that is in addition to what JICA and the Japanese had also done for the blue economy in terms of even providing. You see, apart from providing both for the coast guards, they had also provided similar facilities for the blue economy. Now, when we hear that nothing has been seen on site, not done, what ought to be done, we may be told it was done, but there's nothing to show that it was done.
It was done theoretically, but practically, you can see this how the situation how it is.
I'm sorry, Mheshimiwa, but I just have a couple of doubts. No, first of all, you're not aware of these things. You were not part of meetings. If we've heard about them and you haven't heard about them, where is the breakdown? I mean, how come we know and you are the area member of parliament? You are among the leaders of the
we
county.
were not in the previous regime. We are not involved in matters to plan with the county. Yeah, because it depends also with the governor, with his relation with the members of parliament and the MCAs. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We need to forget our political differences and come, because everybody wants to see his people are doing or are benefiting our service the delivery to the people. But if we work in isolation, there's nowhere we can achieve what we want.
We're calling these political differences, but are they really political differences? It looks to me like personal differences.
Sounds closer to that.
Yes, because if I think about it, what is it that the immediate former governor of Kilifi was? He was an ODM elected governor. You were in the majority of MPs.
In fact, Kilifi in the previous regime, it was an ODM, everything was ODM.
100%.
But the problem is, I think there was no participation. Yeah. As members of the parliament, we were not involved in planning and executing what the county government was saying. And that's why I'm saying we have faith with the current governor. He has actually been calling us and telling us what he needs to, what he wants to do, and we have been moving with him to every constituency where there is a problem. We move. So, like in Kilifi now, we have we have 4 ODM members. We have 1 UDA and 2 PA. But we are from Kilifi. The parties are not going to work for us. It is us as individuals to come together, because the problems are known, but the solutions are not there. So now we should come together and agree that we should give services to our people.
And are we saying that the gathering of these minds, essentially what we are saying is that should this happen, everybody in a concerted effort, we will actually start to see something change. Now, what would change? Because, I mean, you can knock off the list. or education, people are looking for their children to go to school.
There must be consultation. You know, you cannot be a lone ranger and you expect to achieve. Yeah, because I'm a member of parliament. I also have 2 MCAs who are not in ODM, but we sat as a consensus, and I said we should now forget, because one is independent, the other one is ANC. I have 2 ODM MCAs. So I've asked, we have been having meeting, and we have agreed that we should. The only thing which can separate us, the drought is very serious. Regardless of where you come from, religion or what, we should come together and assist. I know it is it's a short-term measure, but now we need to plan. How do we? You see, when it rains, all the water just disappear in the Indian Ocean. We should come with a plan on how to harvest water. Yeah, we could be self-food reliance if the Galana Kulalu irrigation scheme was utilized, and I think it is in the public domain. You see how much money was allocated and what it did. So if the central government and the Kilifi county government can embark on that project, we can produce a lot of food for our people and even other parts of this country.
Mheshimiwa, the biggest forest cover that we have in this part of the world, this one, I talk about Kilifi, going to the river, is actually in Kilifi County. Is that forest cover receding or is it increasing?
It's receding.
Now,
what's happening?
You see, the people who are, we have been cutting trees without planting. Yeah, we have been making charcoals. People are looking for a way of surviving. Yeah, so the climate change is now real and it is with us. So we should also encourage our people when the rain starts that we should plant more trees. If you get a chance and you move towards from Mariakani town, as you head to Bamba, you will see the situation. Yeah.
It's becoming a dust bowl.
It's becoming a desert, actually. Yeah. So we need to plant more trees to attract even the rains, because
you've got that to the heart of the matter. It's why I asked about the forest cover, because there is a very direct correlation between that forest cover and this drought that you're experiencing.
Yes.
Because it's unusual.
It is unusual.
And if you look at it, you will find that as that forest cover has receded, so have the problems increased.
Yeah.
So is there an opportunity, Mheshimiwa, for, like you're saying, now that members of parliament from this region, plus the members of the county assembly, plus the governor and his deputy are saying, let's work together?
Yes.
Is there an opportunity for you, as you work together like that,
to rally the national government for direct and express support as a unit. And then you also join the other leaders from the neighboring counties, if it's Mombasa County, if it's Kwale, if it's Tana River as well. If all of you speak together, you also border Makueni County, you can speak to the leaders of Makueni County as well. All of you present a joint petition with specific issues that you'd like to be addressed to the Deputy President, who's coordinating even the donor funds,
yes,
and who's also coordinating the governors and at devolution level, and say, this is what we need to address our problems today. We need food, we need water, we need as immediate and short term, and then you can talk about medium term and long term, so that you have a clear plan of what you want to see government do.
Yeah, there is the Jumuiya
Counties of Pwani.
Yeah. It was one of the areas we thought the governors could come together. But because, if you have been very keen, last year, towards the end of last year, everybody was talking different.
Yep.
Yeah.
Starting from having coastal parties.
The counties of Pwani, it was a very good idea. But look at what the governors did. They started differing, and it was a more urban. It was not even working. Yeah. So they had a very good proposal on how the blue economy can change our area, but with the disunity of the governors, disunity among members of parliament and the MCAs, it really cost us to where.
But is it disunity or is it self-interest?
Both, because everybody believes that anything good must come from PK. I don't want to hear any other person. That kind of supremacy battles, they have really cost us. But now there is a change of heart, because we have seen, if we continue dividing ourselves through party lines, Kilifi coast will never grow. PK, and we have a lot of. Let me tell you, coast has a lot of resources. But they have not benefited the local. Yes, you go to Taita Taveta, you have the minerals there. Yeah, who has benefited?
You have water.
You have water. In fact, most of the water which is being consumed in Mombasa comes from Mzima.
Yep.
So if Mzima dries up, what do we do?
You are sunk.
Yes. Yeah. So we have this potential. We need our, myself included, we need to make sure that at least. You see, people used to depend on tourism.
Yeah.
Tourism is gone. But there's the local now who are visiting these hotels, which they should be encouraged with a proper package.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, still, we're talking about a today problem, and that's the thing. We're not talking about something that has potential to grow into a worse problem. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people today who don't have food, who don't have a source of clean water.
Yes.
And we're saying that we've planned, we've said we're going to come together, but it's a today problem.
What we have done, even today, the Kilifi County government has dispatched about 5 boozers. Yeah, it's a temporary measure. Because
it is a necessary measure.
Well, it's absolutely necessary because we need to.
Yes, you have to start with one day at a time.
Yes. What I'm saying, the situation now, it needs combined forces. Then it is a short-term measure, but we need a long-term measure that there'll be sufficient water and there'll be sufficient food for our people.
So what is that? Started from that question. You coming together as Jumuiya Counties of Pwani, as leaders from the coast, have you had a conversation on what is our long-term solution to the issues?
Yes. You see, as I've told water, if we don't plant more trees when it rains this time around, we are doing nothing, because the Muzima, as time goes by, it will come to drought. We have the Baricho, the Baricho pipeline. Yeah, but even that pipeline, you will see our local people don't get clean water. Yeah, and it is a devolved water is a devolved function. That's why I'm saying we have to work with the governor.
Yeah. You must work with the governor, Mheshimiwa, we understand. Yes. But as parliamentarians, because if it appears that this plan of waiting for the governors hasn't been working. Okay, the governors seem to have a different plan.
No, you are not elected to wait for a governor.
Yes. No, I'm talking about, you see the services that I cannot provide. They are devolved.
What can you do to push to make sure that
that's
they
what I'm
provide?
saying. In fact, from here, I'm going to see the governor over the same issue. Yeah. Because I have to explain to him my constituency, how it is, because he is the person who is in charge with the issues of water, health, infrastructure. As a member of parliament on the national level, we push as national projects, but they're not
local. Okay, now
to be implemented.
When you go to push an agenda, do you go with a plan and say, Mheshimiwa, this is a plan we have in place, and this is what we'd like?
We did that immediately after we were elected. We sat where we are here with the governor.
Right here.
Yes, right here.
And he was sitting where I'm sitting.
Yes.
Okay.
And what we said.
You were the governor. You were speaking.
So we said we will give him a package from Kaloleni through the MCS, because most of the time he's with the MCS.
Yes.
So this is what the problems affecting Kaloleni. So in terms of drought, in terms of health, infrastructure, the MCS are planning for that. As from members of parliament, you know what is there? It's mostly legislative issues, and that's why even the judges, they want to remove the CDF, because they say it is...
Your job is legislation, oversight and representation.
Yes, you see?
Yes.
So these are the problems that we have.
And yet they were given an opportunity to amend the constitution to suit their purposes.
No, we did.
And then?
What I'm telling you, there is the 2015 Act.
Yes, yes.
It is being challenged in court. There are 3 suits which are there. So in case they succeed, we will have no direct link with our electorates, because they don't know about issues of making laws. They want to see service. And even now, they'll tell you, Mheshimiwa, hii barabara ni mbaya, hii hospitali haina madawa. So I have to talk to my area MCS and the governor. So that's why he cannot work alone, I cannot work alone. And that's what has been the problem in Coast Province. Leaders don't agree on certain issues, but we have the same problem. If you go to Taita Taveta, despite the fact that the water comes from there, they have a number of...
Mheshimiwa, how do we end this? Because this is the story of the coast. Huge potential that hasn't been realized for decades.
It is.
And yet leaders.
Yes, and some prominent, but...
The problem is the leadership, not the people.
Mheshimiwa, you do know when you're a leader also.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, the leadership.
So wewe ni shida?
Yes.
How?
Shida sasa ni kama siwezi kusikizana na governor. Na yeye ndiye ana pesa ile mfuko mkubwa. Yangu, you see, we are getting only 130 million per year.
Yes.
Yeah, for CDF.
Hiyo pesa nyingi.
It's a drop in the sea.
If you look at the needs.
If you look at the needs, let me tell you.
The number of children who just need bursaries.
That money, you say ni nyingi.
Ni nyingi.
Hapo kuna 25 million inatolewa for monitoring and evaluation and paying the...
For administration.
For administrative. Then you need to give bursaries from the same 130.
Yeah.
You have to build schools and buy desks.
And also have a feeding program.
You're spending 2 million shillings a month.
Yes.
2 million shillings a month on administration, monitoring and evaluation.
Yes. And
2 million bob. Pesa nyingi bana.
Unajua hii CDF moja nikwambie. Ili nakwambia ni ya watu wanakwenda the committees wanatumia. Ile ambayo natumia like last time before it was removed, I gave 45 million as bursary. Okay? So if you give 45 million, the development, you remain with about 30 million. And I think you have been here. You know Kaloleni very well.
Yes, I do.
It is a big...
it's huge.
It's huge. So you might even build a school here, and somebody on the other side anakuuliza umejenga nini? Sijaona
shule.
Umeelewa? So these are the problems we are facing, but we are optimistic that this time around we should do things around, because we know where the problems are. It is implementing these problems. This has been a challenge, and you have been here.
I grew up here.
Yes. So
there's another big issue that you alluded to earlier, Mheshimiwa, and we've talked about it a number of times before.
Yes.
And this is with regards to practices by the community here. So leadership is one issue. Now let's come to a community level. You say you can't even trust your own daughter to go fetching water a short distance away because she is likely to be attacked by somebody and raped and defiled. So there's that whole issue of children getting pregnant in the hands of just people who are defiling them. What is happening in the community? Why is this so rampant in Kilifi, in the coast? And how can it be addressed?
This problem has been here for some time. But in fact, let me just talk from my experience from my constituency. When I came in, the number of girls who are getting pregnant was very high. So I sat with the stakeholders and have been moving school to school, calling meetings for the parents. Even if you call for a meeting, the biggest number who will attend that meeting are women.
Yeah.
The male are not attending.
Perpetrators don't go around attending meetings where they might be discussed. Yes.
Yeah. So we have been having meetings with the parents. You know, the teacher will only have your kid for some few hours.
Yeah.
But the most time, she or he will be home. What the parents are doing, most of them, they are not even asking their children, amesoma nini?
Mheshimiwa nikuulize swali.
Umeelewa? Sasa the parents actually dependent entirely on the CDF. Okay? Entirely. Because saye ukitoka hapa nakwambia mheshimiwa, I'll show you some of the messages. Sasa mtoto wangu ataenda wapi na basari imeenda. And the level of poverty in Kilifi County.
Actually, I'm going to take it a step further. The level of poverty at the coast is profound.
Yeah.
Let me ask you. One of the things that it's a truly negative thing that was characterized of the coast was the marrying of young girls.
Yeah.
Girls who are under the age of consent being married. Has that practice gone down, or is it still there?
It has gone down.
It has gone down.
Yeah,
I am happy to hear
it
that.
Has gone down. We have involved the religious leaders.
Yes.
You know, because they have a big following.
Yeah. They do.
They do. That's why we also send messages. If I go to church, I speak about it. But if I don't, the religious leaders now they have started doing it, and it has brought the issue of pregnancy at a lower level. So something has been done. So, and that's why
that is very good news.
We encourage all the stakeholders. You know, there had been this problem of border. They have been accused of the ones who are implementing this leader. But you see, it is in line with the poverty. Because maybe the girl will need some sanitary towels, the father or the mother cannot provide. But the border say, okay, have 500.
He has cash, he's liquid.
So this has been a problem. But we have also involved our borders that these are your sisters. Yeah. So there is a change of heart, and we are moving towards the right direction. It will take time, Mr. Mugo. It will take time. Yeah. But I'm very, very optimistic that this time round we will agree.
You know, it's very painful when you look at the potential of the coast and you look at the human resource, because the coast has human resource. It isn't that they don't have expertise or personnel. They do.
We have.
And then you look at all this and you look at the money that has come into our counties through this devolved system, and yet we are still talking about a problem that has been there from time immemorial.
Like the water problem,
yes,
it has been there for quite long. But as we have put it right, when the money comes to the county government, I have no access to it, and they can plan.
Is it possible to
the person who can let us know how much has come to our account is the senator, because senator is in charge of the
the oversight. Yes.
So the senator should be telling the people
Kilifi
has received this amount of money, so that the residents also know. Hii pesa imeenda wapi? That's why in my campaign I used to ask, nasikia Kilifi imeletewa pesa mingi za mashinani, ziliingia mashimoni ama ziliingia mashinani?
Mashimoni.
This is the question we were asking, because kama hiyo pesa ingekuja and people are informed this money is here, this is the kind of work has done, hatungekuwa na hii shida. Yeah.
Okay. I hear what you're saying, and obviously you're looking at what many would say is then a complicated issue. But then it would be very, very sad if we can see the problem, you know what needs to be done, and then nothing is done. Because it cannot continue to be a situation whereby the people of a county, the people of communities are waiting for handouts. Like now, isn't it, where we are?
Yeah.
There's no CDF distribution as we speak.
So no children are at school.
Yes, they're at home. In my constituency is about 50%.
Right?
They're still at home.
Should that be the situation? Because there's this not 130 million shillings coming from the national government. Children in the county cannot go to school. And if you ask the problem as in, The people are poor. So in terms of economic activity, there's very little that they will do that will generate income for them to fund their lives. And that's the problem that ought to be looked at. Why is the economic situation so low, so bad, that people have to then depend on a government fund? So now what if the government fund is not there, what do they do?
There comes the question now. You see, as Mr. Muga put it right, we have a lot of potential. We have a lot of land in Kilifi, but we have not put it into good usage. The issue of food could have come to a stop if the Galana Kulalu irrigation scheme was actualized. Because I remember that project took about 29 billion Kenya shillings.
Yep.
Yeah. It is very strange and it's pity. Go to Egypt, then the desert, they grow food. Go to Israel. What is it that we cannot do here?
Yeah.
That's the question we should be asking.
You should be pushing for that.
Yes.
Let's conclude the conversation, Mheshimiwa, on a positive note. Tell us something positive about Kaloleni and Kilifi. Of course, there are very many good things that have happened in the last couple of years.
Let me tell you, my people have now embraced education. They have seen what educated people can achieve. So when I came in 2017, the enrollment in school was less than 15,000. Yeah?
Less than 15,000?
Yes. But now, I talk about 36,000. So you can see that people are really embracing education. And it is only through education that you can develop. Because if people are not educated, they cannot research, they cannot plan, you see.
Yeah.
So we have also, we have good relationship with the parents. Now parents are encouraging the school, the people to go school. That's why the issue of early marriages has gone down. Yeah.
That's a very good thing. Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa. Thank you, Katana, for speaking to us today, and we wish you all the best. Yes, our challenge to you is you've been elected by the people to represent them.
Yes.
Knock on all those doors. Make sure that you rally the people behind you so that you can represent them as, in unified voice and speak to them in a unified voice.
This is what we are doing now.
Asante sana.
Yeah, tunafanya na tunaomba Mungu atusaidie.
Tukirudi hapa Kilifi, we'll call you again. Tukirudi Nairobi and you're in Nairobi, we'll welcome you to the studio.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's a situation room. We are broadcasting live from Kilifi County. We are at the Mnarani Club. We are going to have another conversation in the next hour. Remind you about running on the 30th of
October.
Yeah, because
take it over with the Nairobi Standard Chartered Marathon. That's happening on the 30th. If you've registered, so that you get to take part in the 42k, the 21k, the 10k, or the 5k family fun run. Remember, if you do this virtually between the 23rd and 30th of October, you will be able to then post your times on the leaderboard and see where you stand come the 30th of October.
The conversation continues on SpiceFM. Keep it here. We'll be speaking to a youth leader in the next hour. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The vetting of the 22 Cabinet Secretary nominees President William Ruto announced last month enters the second day today at the National Assembly. 5 nominees are set to present themselves before the 15-member Committee on Appointments that is chaired by Speaker of the National Assembly Moses Wetangula. Professor Kithure Kindiki, who has been nominated for the Interior and National Administration docket, will kick off the exercise at 9 a.m, followed by National Treasury and Planning Cabinet Secretary Professor Njuguna Ndung'u. Public Service, Gender and Affirmative Action CS nominee Aisha Juma will face the committee afterwards, followed by her Energy and Petroleum counterpart Davis Kimutaji late in the afternoon. Moses Kuri, who has been nominated for the Trade, Investment and Industry Cabinet position, will close the day's exercise. Yesterday, the committee interviewed Musalia Mudavadi, who has been nominated as the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Justin Muturi, the Attorney General nominee, Aden Duale, the Defence Cabinet Secretary nominee, Alfred Mutua, Foreign Affairs nominee, and Ali Swahome, Water and Sanitation nominee. We are camping at the Parliament buildings as we bring you the very latest from the that quarters. Now, preparation for this year's Mashujaa Day celebrations are on a course as the Uhuru Gardens in Nairobi. Interior Principal Secretary Karanja Kibisho, who's also the National Celebration Committee Chairman, said more than 20,000 guests are expected to attend the feat. The Mashujaa Day will be the first public marked holiday celebration under the administration of President William Ruto. More than 20,000 Kenyans, among them dignitaries, will attend the celebration. Kibisho says Nairobi Regional Commander is expected to give a communique on the preparations later tomorrow. Now, Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja has cautioned traders in the county markets not to pay cash for any county services, terming as fraudsters, thus discouraging them from using electronic payment methods. Speaking at Gikomba Market, where a section was banned, Sakaja pledged to set up a fire station in the market, have the land surveyed and a title issued. Sakaja toured the market in the company of Kamkunji MP Yusuf Hassan, Deputy County Commissioner James Kamau, and Pumwani MCA Paul Petit Ndungo. The governor donated 1 million shillings and 5,000 iron sheets to the affected traders. Kamkunji MP appealed to the traders to make space for construction of access roads so that firefighter trucks can reach the scenes of fire. And the University of Egerton has announced an indefinite suspension of academic activities. Through a statement, the management said it has reached the decision following the failure to reach an agreement between the leadership and the university staff union, who started their strike yesterday. Students have been ordered to leave the campus by Friday this week. The strike officially started yesterday after the 2-week deadline they had given the college management was completed without any action being taken. The Secretary General of the Association of University Lecturers, Constantino Songa, has said that they are complaining about not being paid their salaries in full, the submission of pension payments, and poor working conditions. According to Songa, since 2020, the university's lecturers have been paid 57% of their salaries. The issue, he says, is a violation of their rights. Now, the man suspected of shooting dead Ida Odinga's bodyguard Corporal Barack Odur will remain in police custody for 14 more days pending investigations. Okundi was arrested after going into hiding following the Thursday incident. Detectives say a Jericho pistol, which is believed to be the one used in the murder, 1 magazine and 7 rounds of ammunition were recovered from him during the arrest. Also, Kiambu politician Gladys Shania, who's a suspect in her husband's murder, John Mwangi, has also been detained for 7 more days to complete investigations. Shania, a prominent counseling psychologist, is among the most suspects who police are holding to help with investigations to ascertain Mwangi's murder that sleuths describe as the worst in the recent past. And unregistered SIM card users will face a gradual service denial, including phone, SMS, data, and mobile banking, unless they register within the next 60 days. Communications Authority Director General Ezra Chiloba says that so far 40 million Kenyans are able to meet the SIM card re-registration deadline, with 93% of them being Safaricom subscribers at 84% and Airtel subscribers at 84%. Chiloba further says that they've sent out a team to inquire challenges that subscribers faced during registration exercise. He adds that they'll further investigate individuals who have not registered their SIM cards after shutting them down. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseta, good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
3, 2.
Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Heri Latifa, Kismuga, Madam Du, nimesalamia wote sana.
Tumepokea salamu, asante sana.
Hapa Garissa today the weather is very good, only that baridi inatupeleka mbio sana.
Sasa baridi ni degree ngapi hapo?
Hata sijui, lakini madam tunakauka sana.
If you want to follow the money trail, you've got to think like a thief to be able to catch that thief.
A slap from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy. You remember the kiss of Judas Iscariot? Iscariot.
Yes.
Is the one that imetuweka kwa hii mashida yote na mataabu kwa sababu of that kiss. Yet the slap of Jesus Christ, when he slapped those guys wenye walikuwa wanauza mboga ndani ya kanisa, took them to heaven.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
2.
Okay, so we're looking at traffic at a few minutes after 9 o'clock. It's still building up in certain parts of Nairobi. Off the Thika Superhighway, not an issue at all. Kiambu Road in and outbound traffic is bumper to bumper. Also, then coming off of Wayaki Way, that doesn't look too bad if we're sticking into Nairobi. James Gishuru not looking bad, getting over there. Coming out of Lavington, it's coming off of Gong Road as well as then Naivasha Road out towards Mzima Springs. That should be all right. We're looking at a downtime then when it comes to traffic in not too long from now. I'm looking over the Kilifi Creek and there's not much happening here. As you're getting in from Kilifi town then onto the other side, it looks all right. Looking at the coastal side of the country, traffic is not posing a problem. Talk to us through this Tuesday. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Want to keep things moving this morning.
.9 Spice FM, Mombasa. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in...
Okay, you can see that.
Good morning, Sly.
I see we are live. I think we are. It's how many minutes after 9? 9 minutes after 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's a Situation Room. Welcome to the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation today. It's Ednah. It's her.
Ednah.
She's the one who is all over.
Hello.
Yeah, we're live and we continue being live. So the conversation continues. Welcome to the final hour. This is Eric Latif, Nduoko and C.T. Muga live from the Kilifi Creek, overlooking Kilifi town from the Mnarani Club. Beautiful sunrise this morning that we witnessed, and also we're talking about the development and the challenges that are here in Kilifi County. Tomorrow we'll be visiting our friends at the Camry Welcome Trust, which is also a research facility that's based in Kilifi. Now we want to talk about what's happening in this area. So the Honorable MP Paul Katana from Kaloleni constituency has mentioned a couple of issues. For example, he says Kaloleni has had drought for the last 4 years. So people don't have access to food, don't have access to water. Now with the delays in the disbursement of CDF funds, children have not gone to school because they have not received the bursary and they're not going to school. So there's a whole issue that needs to be addressed. We've also seen lately in the news the issue about, for example, areas in Ganze where there's serious starvation. We will talk about all this before CT tells you about the day's proverb and before we welcome and introduce our guest to you this morning, telling you about The Room, which is where you get the best tech talent available globally in Kenya. The African Leadership Academy, you've heard about it, if you haven't, go and research about it, has introduced an online way of training tech talent, and this is through alxafrica.com. You can go in there and you choose whatever kind of technical expertise that you'd like to gain in tech. It can be software engineer, it can be a computer scientist, whatever. There's a global shortage of people who are qualified in tech. Now, when people have gone through the ALX program, they then opt into what they call The Room. And The Room is where people who've gone through this program, people who have expertise in tech, are there. Employers come into the room and they ask, I'd like somebody who's got this and that kind of experience or expertise or whatever. The people in the room have already been vetted, and you can be assured that the person that you pick there has gone through some proper training
and they've got competencies that you need. So go to theroom.com and you find out more. City, the proverb.
Yes, we are still in the country of Somalia. If a mule grazes with horses, it thinks it is also a horse.
Or the horses think they are mules.
No. Singularity here is the mule.
Oh, it's one mule.
One mule.
A mule grazes with horses.
Then the plural.
The mule thinks it's a horse. Maybe if you reverse it as well.
Yes.
If a horse grazes with mules, stood starts hee-hawing.
What are these doing here?
Fikirini Jacobs is a youth leader from this area, from Kilifi County, specifically from Ganze, and he joins us now. Good morning, Fikirini.
Good morning, Eric.
Good to have you on Kenya's biggest conversation. Welcome to the hot seats in Mnarani.
Thank you for having me.
Asante sana. We talk about, and you were watching as we had a conversation with the Kaloleni MP, the Honorable PK, and he was talking about the challenges that people have faced here. Now, recently in the news, we've seen about Ganze. You're from Ganze. Tell us what's happening in Ganze.
I think what was covered in the news is only an eighth of the real situation on the ground. I should say for the record that I was born and raised in Ganze, and Bamba particularly.
Safari ya Bamba. Machero ishafika.
Yes. But we changed it to Rero. So
Ni Rero sasa. Si mambo Machero zizi.
So I think that bit of news which was shared as a case study of the hunger problem in Ganze, Bamba particular, a place called Kavunzoni area, is a place very well known to me. That's the place of birth of my very own mother. So it's a place I know very well. And Kavunzoni is one of the most farthest point of Kilifi County and even Ganze constituency. So to the extent that we can hear the stories from as far as Kavunzoni, simple means we have we are updated on everything else that is on the road towards there.
Yeah.
And I can assure you that the situation is bad. And the worst of it
paint
is
a picture for us, because there are people who maybe haven't even seen the news article or the news item. Just paint the picture for us. What's happening?
I think Ganze constituency, which has statistically and for over time gone down in history as one of the most impoverished constituencies in the country, is a place where people largely used to depend on the rainfall patterns for subsistence farming. And I think right now, perhaps because of climate change and a lot of interplay of some factors that are very important for the people to be able to foot a living, many people went into charcoal farming. Charcoal burning, literally. And to that extent, then, I think it also attributed so much to a very inconsistent rainfall patterns.
Because of deforestation.
Yeah, because of deforestation. So as I'm talking right now, I think this is almost the 5th year since almost the entire constituency experienced rain. And that simply means now when people were depending on agriculture, for subsistence, and there's no rainfalls, and there has never been any other structures or diversification, other sources of rainfall or water per se, it's just been very difficult for people now to get back to their farms again. So the kind of alternatives that have been there is that people have been going to the forest to look for aloe vera, just the same aloe vera, to harvest aloe vera. And it's very difficult because I can tell you, tapping aloe vera, just filling a 20-liter jerrycan of aloe vera can take a person almost 3 weeks.
Wow.
And you will come to realize that these people also sell it for peanuts, as lower as 300 shillings, which in the Kenyan economy and in the market today, you can only get a 2 kg package and maybe some little omena.
Yeah.
That's it.
But Fikirini, pause.
Yeah.
Who has planted the aloe vera? Is it wildly growing?
Yeah.
Or so wildly growing aloe vera plants?
Yeah, wildly growing aloe vera, of course.
And then they now go and tap.
Yeah, they go and tap it. There are some kind of investors who came to buy it from them, I think for medicinal purposes, ultimately. But that of late has been almost the the alternative in terms of economic activity that people engage in. But it also has some serious effects, because people literally take their buckets, to go and tap it. People don't put on masks, and ultimately you find like the people who have been that kind of aloe vera harvesting for a long time, they have serious chest problems. And even right now, the aloe vera is itself extinguished. It's very difficult right now to see aloe vera in the forest, even though it's well grown, but it's drought resistant. But right now it's very, very difficult to trace it. Yeah.
There's something very interesting about Kilifi County, something that is of enormous national significance. If you look at independent Kenya, among the leaders who the independence is attributed to were a group of leaders. We know of Moi, we know of the Kapenguria 6. Now, what many people don't know, Ronald Ngala was among those first leaders that this country ever had. This man went to Alliance. This man graduated as a teacher. This man was among those national leaders. Now, if you look at the history of those national leaders, and look at the areas they come from, there is a significant distinct development that was associated with these leaders. Why is it that a place, remember, you can count those leaders on both hands, and you see the change. How is it that Ronald Ngala, who was right at the front, came from this county, not Tana River, not Lamu, not Kwale, not Mombasa, not Taita Taveta, Kilifi?
Well, I think...
Sijamaliza.
Okay.
The birthplace of education in this country, ilianza wapi? Hapa. How do you explain where we are now with all these advantages?
Okay, I think getting back into history, I once said, and I think it became a subject of a serious debate, that for me, I'm 28 years old. Before I was born, relief food used to be distributed at Ganze. Sad that 28 years down the line, I still have people, my own mother, my own father, or even the community largely still
depend on relief food. Yeah.
And there's a time I also got to serious thinking about it, because I'm a philosopher by profession. And Ronald Ngala, to be very exact, was born in a place called Mitsedzini.
Yes.
That is Sokoke ward.
Yes.
One of the wards in Ganze constituency.
Yes, it is.
And later on moved to Kaloleni.
Yes.
Maybe some other times to Mombasa. Yes. And I think ours has been always a problem of mistaken identity.
Explain, please.
Had Ronald Ngala accepted that he was born in an environment like Mitsedzini, even though that time it was agriculturally very productive. That's where pawpaw and every single thing used to come from.
Mangoes.
That time, mangoes, had Ngala accepted to put a foundation of education, I'm sure, our community, apart from the educational enlightenment, it would have taken charge of our own environment. And by now, we couldn't be in the kind of shame that we are in today. Having brought up one of the most renowned leaders, perhaps first leaders in this country, and yet associated with the shame of hunger, where people literally, succumb just because of some serious pangs of hunger. I think that's really the problem we have. And then when I say it's a problem of mistaken identity, other than waking up and moving without knowing where you're coming from, I think we have never had a serious dialogue where people would come like we are sitting here and converse about the hunger problem in Ganze and Kilifi largely, vis-a-vis the very huge deposits of mineral resources in our land. And a very simple example is Jaribuni. Jaribuni ward is in Ganze constituency. But these waters of the sea will bear me witness almost every day. A lot of material pass through these waters to Lamu. Largely, the port of Lamu has been constructed by material which is extracted from Ganze. But go there and look at the conditions of living of the people.
What are they extracting there?
What are they removing?
Apart from the minerals, these stones ballast. If you stand at at this bridge,
Yeah.
and you look where we had the old ferry, you'll see a lot of ballast, you'll see a lot of materials which is deposited there, ready for packaging and the transportation to Lamu for the construction of that port there. But if you go to Jaribuni today, all you'll find there is people suffering from tuberculosis, is students who have been sent home to collect fees, the students in the universities who have literally deferred, they're sitting at home. We are living in the words of Martin Luther. We're an island of poverty, surrounded by a vast ocean of material prosperity.
It's literal.
Yeah.
It's literal.
Yeah.
And so I think, you see, the thing is, the temptation that we have all the time, and I think we fall right into it, is that we lament about the issue, which is very important. I always say that if you're looking towards a solution, you must always look at what has been the cause of the problem, right? And so we are dealing with a today problem. I shudder to think about what the people of Ganze have to go through today in terms of infrastructure not having been developed or set up for them to then thrive on. But then the question is, from where you see it, what would happen? You talk about had Ngala at that time put up an educational system.
Sure.
People would have been educated and then gone on to maybe develop economically. And I understand that. I mean, we can draw the parallels between the two.
Sure.
But today, what needs to happen? The problem is compounded. You talk about 28 years. As long as you've been alive, people have been receiving relief food. It is
even longer.
I mean, it is. I don't even know if there's a word that has been coined. It should not be, especially coming from a place where the resource is as vast as we say it is. What needs to happen? It's not a matter of now. What needs to happen today?
Can I append to what you've asked? You see, Ronald Ngala's history, you're not. My generation has let you down.
Sure.
Now, are you going to let the next generation down? Because the thing that we do well at the coast and in this country is we talk.
Sure.
We talk really well. We talk well about plans, we talk well about our intentions, but you as a youth leader and your generation, what will you do differently so that this narrative changes once and for all? It's a really pitiful, pathetic, tiresome narrative. Year in, year out. It's unbelievable.
Sure.
Anyone who's lived here as I have will know, and here I said the coast, you will know of the human resource potential the coast has. But you'll find a lot of that human resource not even on the coast. It's everywhere else in the country, serving everywhere else in the country except the coast. How are you guys going to remedy this?
Okay, thank you for the question. If this problem was physical or medical, such that I would have extracted it literally, I will tell you how far I am insofar as extracting it is concerned. But I think the overdependence syndrome is a little bit mental. It's gotten deep down the minds of the generations since then to now. I'm sure as a progressive young leader, I want to see a difference. And not just being part of a proclamation, but literally getting down into working out some serious, tangible solutions. And I admit that it may, of course, take a lot of time because, in your own words, the problem has been very compounded over years. Then it was about Ganze alone. Right now, it's about Ganze, Magarini, and some parts of Kaloleni. It is fast spreading that way. And I think what we need to get down to is kind of diversification in terms of our agricultural systems. I understand that there are crops which are a little bit not drought resistant, but at least drought friendly per se. Even some hybrids kind of seeds that our people plant, some can grow faster than the one that we are used to, which can take almost up to three months. There are some which can take almost 1.5 months, and we're harvesting. Also, the kind of for farming largely in our place was boosted by another institution which I think died a natural death the moment we effected the devolution. Kenya Agricultural Research Institutes. When I was a young pupil in Mnagoni Primary School, coming to Bamba town, I would see on my way to Bamba a very huge farm with greenhouses, with cattle, livestock, a very green environment, where people would walk in to get any kind of assistance on extension services, or even type of seeds, like the one I was talking about, modified seeds, you know, which people will take home and plant, and people will get results. But right now, if you go to that place, there's a road.
What do you mean there's a road?
The place is no longer there.
So the Cairo facility moved?
It literally died. You know, the houses broke down over time. The place just degenerated into a hollow, a shallow place where nobody can talk about the place having hosted a very serious facility in terms of boosting agriculture. And by the way, this is not Bamba alone. Msabaha was a very big center of agricultural research. Cotton particularly used to come from Msabaha. You know, I think in this county, without any fear of contradiction by any research, the only agricultural institution remaining is in Mtwapa. Mtwapa is not faced by this drought situation we're talking about. This drought situation is in Kaloleni, Ganze, Magarini. You go down there, there are no research institutions that can be able to mentor our fathers or parents in terms of diversification, in terms of agriculture.
So what happened at that particular facility? Are we talking about mismanagement? Are we talking about corruption? What happened that such a facility where that you see the people from the area could go? Because this is the conversation that we've had this whole morning. From where the DP, where the deputy president of the country is saying people around the country must plant to eat. If we do not grow our own food, we will die. That is what he's saying. We go to the MP of Kaloleni who tells us, actually, you know what, if we had extension services down to that level and people were showing and giving, this is the seed, plant it like this, do this. And then now here you are telling us that you remember growing up and that was the same thing. Is it mismanagement? What has happened? Because then that could point us to the problem.
Okay. I may not say it's mismanagement or corruption issues. I think Kenya Agricultural Research Institute is one of the institutions that became collateral damage through the implementation of devolution. I think it simply lacked a place to be. Yes.
So devolution has actually been detrimental to Kilifi County?
We could say that to some extent, but on the particular issue of Gari, Kenya Agricultural Research Institute, because I knew this Gari was connected with the national government.
It is.
You know, after devolution, agriculture is devolved to the national government. But I think you are aware that agriculture is one of the departments which moved to the county, but the money did not fully follow the functions.
But research is still at Calro, and it's still a national government function. I mean, if we are talking about all research facilities having collapsed and died, there must be some big issue, and it's good that you're raising them. There must be some big issues that then questions need to be asked, because it follows into, you talk about cotton. So cotton farming in Kilifi County just died. We've just talked about cashew nut farming in Kilifi County on its knees. We've talked about sugarcane farming in parts of Kwale and died. All these things are dying because there's some sort of like withdrawal of the national government or government from supporting the local farmers.
You've just said that the money did not follow the function of devolution.
I think agriculture, you understand that there are some departments which were devolved to the county government. And like health, agriculture, you still find the same ministries in the national government. But I think these are some of the departments which you follow. When you follow through, you'll realize there has been a lot of contention in terms of their fully implementation at the county level. Yes.
The thing that perhaps what you say is actually pertinent, but with state organizations like these research institutes, whether it's the fisheries and marines, whether it's medical research, even if the health functions are devolved, that particular state institution is not devolved in quite the same way, because the research that they conduct is at a national level and it helps the whole country. What may have happened, many of these research institutions collaborate and have partners from around the world. Sometimes it's a funding issue in that the funding has either dried up, or if it's a Kenyan situation, the funding has been diverted elsewhere. And in the absence of funding, it is impossible for that particular function to continue.
Yeah.
Funding is everything. If you talk to many government agencies, the consistent complaint is with funding. Any state agency that has a problem, they'll tell you it is funding. So if funding wasn't there, it would end up being neglected. There's a question I want to ask you, but I think we're going to a break.
Let's take a break.
Yeah,
want to take a break. Fikirini Jacobs is a youth leader from Kilifi County, specifically from Ganze constituency, specifically from Bamba, specifically from, what's that village?
Biubu.
Yes. Yes. Safari ya Bamba si machero, nirero.
Yes.
We're talking about the issues of Kilifi County, what the youth would like to see as well about Kilifi County. Talking about leadership as well, opportunities that the government still has in place. You know, when the government is working, it's still working. The Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company, it's doing a lot of work in making sure that people who earn 150,000 shillings and below can access houses, and let's not use the word mortgage, we use the word home loan. So they're accessing home loans. You pay for as long as 25 years for as low an interest as below 10%.
Right.
Single digit interest rates.
It's fantastic. And also looking at the fact that over this time, should you see the fluctuations in interest rates that we often see in the financial systems, it does not affect your loan tenor. It doesn't affect the numbers. You will continue paying at the interest for which you entered into the agreement with. And I think it's great because you're paying to own, it's yours. You go on a reduction, it's fantastic. And you can do this for a long period of time and you have your home.
Cast your doubts away. It's a reality. It's something that is there. It's something that can benefit you. It's a question of finding out how you can benefit from it through your circles or through the bank that you bank with, if they are part and parcel of this scheme.
Right.
Indeed. Let's take a break. This is a Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. We're also talking about the other room, theroom.com, where you get the best tech talent available. Let's take a break. We'll be back shortly.
Because actually the first on the coast was not
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 2022. My friend, bado unalipa rent? It's time to say goodbye to your landlord and say hello to your own home, courtesy of the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company. Hapa KMRC tumeiweka simple sana. You can now own a home through our affordable home loans at fixed, less than 10% interest rate and for a longer repayment period of up to 25 years. Tumepartner with your local banks and SACCOs for this. Unangoja nini? KMRC inakusort na dream home yako. Kulipia nyumba yako ni kama tu kulipa rent. Visit www.kmrc.co.ke to see the participating banks and circles na uanze maisha yako in your own keja. Jijenge na KMRC. Rent yako, keja yako. Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya. Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Heri Latifa, Muga, Madam Du, nimesalamia wote sana.
Tumepokea salamu, asante sana.
Hapa Garissa today the weather is very good, only that baridi inatupeleka mbio sana.
The baridi ni degree ngapi hapo?
Hata sijui lakini madam tunakauka sana.
If you want to follow the money trail, you've got to think like a thief to be able to catch that thief.
A slap from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy. You remember the kiss of Judas Iscariot?
Yes.
Is the one that imetuweka kwa hii mashida yote na mataabu. Kwa sababu of that kiss. He had the slap of Jesus Christ when he slapped those guys wenye walikuwa wanauza mboga ndani ya kanisa, took them to heaven.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
London Mulwa DJ Absolute. When the gang is together, got the sugar, got the spice.
Yorada.
Yes.
I have missed you like hot hamburgers. Yeah?
Like hot hamburgers.
You know, bad boys give more money than you can count.
Hey, bad boys give more money than you can count. If it's fun, it's funky, it's fresh, you're definitely going to catch it here. I don't know what you do every day from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock, but if I were you, I'd tune in to
Sugar and Spice only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So if you say it's on, then it's on. Yeah.
Spice up your life. The adults in the room.
I've seen some marriages, relationships, cohabitings struggle because there was no independence of the relationship.
It needs a certain level of intelligence. You need to reach a place where you know yourself, and again, you're not feeding off society.
Whether it is matters of the heart, finances, or work that's weighing on your mind, worry not.
Tune in to Adults in the Room every Monday to Friday from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
The adults in the room will help you stay winning. Only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they are getting per year, how much inconvenience they are causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a Fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Welcome back. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room, broadcasting live from Kilifi County at the Mnarani Club right by the Kilifi Creek. We are looking into Kilifi town and we're talking about issues in Kilifi County. Well, Fikirini Jacob is a youth leader from this county and we are talking about Ganze and what we need to see. Now, as the youth, Fikirini, so people are really getting to a point where they don't know what to do. Like you've told us, the economic activity that has been left for the people of Ganze constituency is hunting and gathering now. It's basically going back into that far in our civilization. What would you like to see? What is it that would be the solutions that can bring back, hope and aspirations for the people of Ganze and Kilifi?
Okay, thank you so much. I think as a young man, born and raised in Ganze, and perhaps having tested the bitter experience of hunger, and by the way, who has largely, I think, made a big achievement by crossing the thick line of poverty anyway, contrary to very many of us. I remember in my class 8, I think I'm the only one who managed to, I'm the only one who managed to go up to university. And
from your cohort of class 8?
Yeah, class 8, yes.
Wow.
28 of us. Now, I would wish to see a different Ganze. A Ganze that inspires hope on not only our generation, but not our generation within Ganze, but across board. And I think this is something which cannot just be achieved by mere talking. I think something which needs a serious involvement in terms of thoughts and in terms of implementation. And I think one of the serious issues that affect Ganze is water. I said, because I did this research independently, and I think I proposed to the governor, and I still do, and I know he's positive, he'll implement it. The problem of water. Imagine we have a natural source of water, Baricho. Other than the power, of course, the water flows freely. It's not a seasonal river. It's a permanent river.
It's a permanent
fresh
river.
Water. This water is piped from Baricho, and people in Nyeri, Mombasa, used to water it. Use the same water to water their flowers in their gardens, while people here at the source struggle.
Don't have piped water in their homes?
Don't have piped water, and even this other water which is people get from the reservoirs, nowadays they have to walk to as far as 20 kilometers deep, and they share with elephants, because the KWS officials say that it's very dry in the park. Now we have to learn to live with the elephants. That's what they're telling us. You know. Now we need to correct that mess. I think if we were to talk about the problems of food, but at least people have water, we would have solved by half. I think.
So what do you want to see? What do you want to see happening?
What I wish to see happening is the Coast Water Services Board and the county government, I think, should work together. The national government should work jointly, so that at least we can have a center, you know, from the Mzima House spring water, which is piped to Mombasa, and this one which comes from Baricho. They all pass through Ganze constituency and Kaloleni at some point, but this water goes to Mombasa. I think this water, there should be a way this water gets to our people here in Kilifi, so that it can benefit them. And I think there's one historical mistake which happened also in the history of piping this water from Baricho to Mombasa. I know at some point when the late President Donald Moi was coming to open this water project here, Ganze had just unceremoniously been left out, you know. And I think at the realization that the president may ask, what about Ganze? Then some people went running a place called Selala to connect some pipe and pipe it to Ganze. But you realize they used a very small, like 6-inch width of a pipe to pump water, which is to be used in the entire constituency. So ultimately, we get very little. So, you know, from the water, the storage at Ganze Center, which is now pipes now to all the entire areas of Ganze constituency, itself, it gets very little. So it has very little to share. You know, that's why we have a serious problem with the water. So I think, I know the county government has opted.
Sure. It's a problem that is created by other people. How do young people organize themselves? Because the young people have ideas. Young people have energy.
Sure.
How do you start looking for solutions and pushing so that places like the governor's office that can provide solution see the need through the pressure and do something? Because the older people can't.
Sure.
They don't have the energy. That time of theirs is on its way out.
Sure.
Your time is now.
Sure.
And that's why I'm addressing you.
Sure.
And you know, just to come on to that, I think a question for me is that what are young people doing in these areas? What kind of economic activity are young people, you know, engaged in? You've mentioned that in your cohort you are the only one who graduated from university.
Sure.
And that's just maybe 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Right? So what are people involved in? Are they working at the county? Are they engaged in business? What exactly is happening in terms of economic activity for youth?
Well, thank you so much. I think for the record, I would say that the brains of the late Ngala late Robert Matano, are not completely extinguished from our soil.
That's why you're here.
After all.
That's why you're here.
It's proof of what you're saying.
It's proof that against all the odds, you have been able to do something that other people take for granted and wish is a rarity, but you've done it.
Sure, you've done it. And I think, I may not have statistics, but if you look around in terms of the resource, in terms of education in this county, you'll not miss out Ganze somewhere on the list. And I think even right now, in the recently appointed cabinet, we have two slots coming from Ganze, one in Jabuni and one in Sokopi, which is still Ganze. And we're expecting more, the chief of service. I mean, we have youth who are very learned in Ganze.
Sure.
I hope you equally know that the former chief of defense forces, General Montete, equally comes from Jila.
Which is in
Ganze, of course. And many more. Even the guy who was the director of Kilifi House, James Chero Samak, is from Bamba.
My point exactly. No shortage of human resource you can point to. No shortage of sons who have stood out. Yet there's a massive shortage.
Even present ones.
Yes.
So then I go back to my question.
Kirini Jacob.
Yes, you.
What are young people involved in? What are youth doing in the county today, in the constituency today? What economic activity are we involved in?
Well, I think the kind of economic activity people do right now is people do individual business.
Okay.
I think that's largely what the youth are doing. However, I appreciate the presence of some lobby groups in our community, rising from young professionals in Bamba. I know there's Bamba young professionals. I know there's Ganze, and I know there's a larger spectrum of it, not like spreading to the entire county. It is through some of these, this Kilifi diary, and I know it's through some of these groups and initiatives that were founded, which create a pressure, you see, on the government. I think you people, if you dig a little in history, you know who Kirini Jacobs was during the reign of Governor King as a governor in Kilifi. You'll know that it would not have been very, very easy to see me walking around the county offices before I was at some point declared a personal grabber. Just because of
Pull the mic. Let's try this one as well. We have another one.
Okay.
This is for you, City.
Okay. So, at individual capacities and at a group level, we have done quite a lot to accelerate pressure on the government, national and county, to see that we become part of the solution on the challenges that face our people. I have always, personally, I've always been in the front line, you know, trying to push. I've been a student leader at campus, and I didn't want it to end at that. I went down to my community to be able to rally my community on some of the things that I would have contributed to. I'm sure there's one or two groups of people that I could have invited to my place and try to give one or two solutions. Today, by the way, if you go to Kavunzoni, the same place this news excerpt came from, the hangar story, you'll find 8 fish ponds at Kavunzoni, constructed by the Kitanda organization, which is a group from Denmark.
Are they fishing those ponds?
Yes, they're fishing those ponds.
I just wanted to be sure.
Yeah, they're fishing those ponds at Kavunzoni, right at Kavunzoni. You know, these guys also, through reverse osmosis, tried to install, because they sank a borehole and realized it was somehow salty. And they tried to use some chemistry of reverse osmosis so that this water may literally not be very consumable through drinking for the people, but they can use it on other means. And even our livestock use the same water, you see, right at Kavunzoni. So these are some of the issues that the mitigation measures that, as the young men, we are trying to get out there to do, because most of the people who are involved there, other than the organization.
How many fish ponds did you say?
8.
Can you make them 80?
Maybe yes, yeah. As a goal, yes.
Because if it can be done in Kavunzoni,
it can be done anywhere else.
The other places?
It can be done.
It not be in 10 other places the same thing?
It can be done.
Because you've seen it done.
Yeah, we've seen it done.
And will it change the lives of the people?
Of course, somehow, yes. Even mentally, it gives us a new thinking on how we can approach our issues.
Friend, when you are assured of food, you think of it differently.
Yes.
When you don't have food, all you think is of how to get food. There's no space for anything else.
No. I think because there are 8, and people right now can do can. Yes. Yes.
Managed by the communities.
They're managed by the community, yes.
Where they go and they're able to fish and they sell.
Yeah, they sell. They sell the produce to maintain the places.
Would you say that the communities that are directly involved in this are not part of the communities that were covered in the story?
No.
Because there's a story about hunger in Kavun Zone.
Yeah.
And this is the Kavun Zone that has
8 fish ponds. Listen, Eric, 8 fish ponds cannot suffice the demands of
of hunger and business.
Yes, and business.
Yes.
That's why there must be more.
Yes.
So how do you get more?
8 fish ponds honestly cannot suffice. It was done by this organization. It is our time now to learn and do and implement more.
Absolutely.
These guys did it and went back to the country.
This is the thing, Fikirini, that development begets development.
Yes, absolutely.
All the time. That you should see this, and you can see that because of this fish pond, one person has been able to benefit.
Sure.
They can sell the fish, feed their families. It is supposed to replicate in nature.
Exactly.
But it cannot do it on its own.
Exactly.
You see it, you take it, and you build on it.
Sure.
And so this is the question. Connected to everything that we're all speaking about here is to say, all right, we've seen this happen. We know what the needs are. There's the government in place, absolutely.
Yeah.
But we who also have a role to play
Sure.
in this collective governance, what are we going to do?
What do you need to scale it?
I think the most important thing is some of these organizations which have come. By the way, I think Ganze Constituency.
What do you need? Itemize it.
Okay. Number 1, continuous water supply.
Okay.
Yeah. Number 2, a continuous water supply ultimately will get us food.
Are you saying that in that region there are aquifers? So if someone digs a borehole, they're likely to get water?
Yeah, of course. The problem is
salty.
In some places it's salty.
So that there's technology that can reduce the brackishness of the water.
It's quite.
So that it has the same thing
yeah,
that you're saying.
Yeah.
You see, if it hadn't been done, then we would say it can. It's been done.
Sure.
So we know it can be done.
It can be done.
Yes.
Is it capital intensive? Is it that it
of
requires a
course.
lot of money, so you need mfadhili?
Yeah.
Or is it that it requires a lot of labor or time consuming, that you'd say that the people would look at it and say, this thing, if I spend my time here, I'm not going to get a benefit in 6 months' time, so let me go look for today's food.
Sure.
What is there?
No, I'm sure it's both capital and labor intensive. If you saw the kind of materials which were imported by those guys in their containers, I'm sure it's a lot of material which involved a lot of resources per se, And I know getting it done at a community level, I think our role can be just maintaining the thing. But I think to that extent...
I have to stop you right there. You must go beyond the thinking of you only must maintain it.
Sure.
The technology that they use can be learnt. Other people can learn to do it. We have polytechnics, we have universities, we have thinkers, we have technical people. Can we not replicate it, but can we find something which is equivalent and can actually do those things? The thinking has to go beyond what is there, because the situation that we talk about is dire.
Sure, I know.
If something isn't done, people die.
Sure.
Yes.
Beginning at learning it at polytechnics or TVETs, they are actually, thank God now the government offers help in TVETs, and I know I have also been at the ground, rallying the young men, even those who got ease to join for arts and causes.
Yeah.
I know something is done, but because we are talking about this condition being dire and urgent, I'm sure. The option of learning, of course, they are already there. We have some of our young men who are already in these institutions, and I'm sure they're pursuing some science-related courses relating to putting up some of these structures by our own selves, I think, for sustainability. But in the meantime, I think if we are to put up some of those facilities as a matter of urgency in terms of to address the situation, we honestly, at our point, wouldn't be very wrong to extend our hands to seek some support. Yes.
A lot of work that needs to be done, going forward. Like you've said, we had a conversation, you heard a conversation that we were having with the MP for Kaloleni.
Sure.
And he spoke about the need for leaders to work together.
Sure.
The need for the people of Kilifi County, all levels of leaders, including you yourselves as youth leaders, to work together. Now, take a minute. Send a message to those that have been elected. You know, you are spending your time and energy and resources to champion.
Sure.
Speak to those that have been elected at MCA, MP, woman rep, senator, governor level.
Sure.
Tell them what you need to see.
Okay. One thing I would urge all our elected leaders, first of all, is to be very quick to learn from history, not with the view of staying there, but with the view of empowering ourselves with information so that we can fast forge ahead. I know we haven't had a kind of history where our leaders would collectively come down together like this, sit down and talk one after the other on a very serious issues that have belabored our community, and ultimately come with workable and practical solutions to be implemented so that in the long run then our people begin to see changes. And my appeal to all elected leaders, regardless of political affiliation, because I have to say that because I know it has been a serious issue here in the coast, where if you belong to this particular group of political parties, then we are ipso facto opponents, you know. And I think I would appeal to all elected leaders, regardless of political affiliation, to come together. I'm sure they're already in place a lot of ideas, a lot of projects which were half implemented, and which in the ultimate of it, when fully implemented, they can help our people. I think I would love to see our leaders working together collectively to address these issues.
For the sake of the people.
And by the way, this runs from the MCA to even the president.
Kabisa.
Yes.
Because he also got votes here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Fikirini,
Thank you
for
so
joining
much.
us.
Thank you so
Fikirini
much.
Jacobs is a youth leader in Kilifi County. We've been talking about what the issues are here, and he has a passionate appeal, like you've heard from him. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation today. We're back tomorrow morning, still in Kilifi County, but from a different location. Today we're at the Mnarani Club. Tomorrow we will be at the Kemri Welcome Trust facility, still in Kilifi. Have a lovely day. Eric Latif, Ndu Oko, and CT Muga say goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. Enjoy your day. And remember, we are running at the end of this month at the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. Make sure that you're ready and you prepare yourself for that. Have a lovely day. It's now 10 a.m.
We start from the Parliament buildings, where Interior Cabinet Secretary nominee Kithure Kindiki has revealed that his net worth is 544 million shillings, which is a summation of various assets he has amassed as a politician and a businessman. While appearing before the National Assembly Appointment Committee during his vetting, he outlined that 165 million shillings is made of income from rental assets, 50 million shillings in cash deposits, while the rest is invested in shares and deposits. Kindiki told the 21-member committee chaired by Speaker Moses Wetangula that his income over time has been generated from his 22-year practice as an advocate and businessman. He also attributed his wealth from working as a consultant in local and international firms, which include the United Nations.
And you will forgive me because your predecessor also came from academia like yourself. And we've seen him exercise power with a lot of hubris and a lot of arrogance.